Good afternoon. Today is Friday, July 26th, and class is back in session. I am Michael Carls, brought to you by Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority, and I am here live at the beautiful Classic Club here today on a nice hot summer day here in the valley. The humidity is gone, but the temperatures are still rising as we are getting into the new football season. I know everyone is super excited about that as camps are starting up if they haven't already started. I know for Xavier Prep, we will be starting next week, and it couldn't come fast enough as we have tons of talent here in the Valley ready to showcase their skills and ready for schools to compete for some CIF championships and some league matchups going on. It's going to be an amazing year. We are going to be getting into some of the players to look out for on this episode today. We do want to choose some guys, that we would start our own ultimate team with guys around the valley, whether it's having a quarterback over in CV like Donnie Fitzgerald, or you have a running back type like they have over in Palm Desert, or you have the wide receiver skills like Xavier Prep does. So it's a whole culmination of guys, and we're going to put them together and give you a little background about each one of these players and what to expect from them moving forward. But before we get into that, I do want to clean up some things, as it has been quite a long summer for us. Things have been happening. Things have been moving and shaking. Guys are going to different places. Guys are here, there, and getting looked at by different schools. And just to start it off, one of the most decorated players in the Valley this year is in the top 100 in the state of California for recruiting classes this year. Jake Shipley has committed to the University of Oregon out of Shadow Hills, offensive, defensive line, tight end, guy that you can move all around. Very, very physical, got good long arms, it will be able to attack the quarterback and be able to use some leverage at the next level. So congrats to Jake there. Way to get that done and out of the way. Now he can relax. He's got his Power 5 conference, Pac-12 offer there, so he can just enjoy the rest of his season, get ready for school coming up. I did notice that he did finish some summer school stuff now, so he'll be able to graduate early and be able to enroll early at the University of Oregon following the next semester. So shout out to Jake, and shout out to all the other guys grinding out there, trying to get those scholarships, trying to get noticed by schools. And I just want to remind guys, being a small school guy myself, okay, if you do not get the D1 offers that you wish to aspire, there are tons and tons and tons of excellent small schools, and you're seeing a ton of guys come from these small schools and be really successful at the professional level of football there, whether it be in Canada, whether it be on an NFL roster. So don't think just because you don't go to a D1 school, that doesn't mean that your journey is over. There are tons and tons of late bloomers out there, tons of guys that may have not hit their physical peak yet and are still looking to grind, still looking to continue playing and be able to get a look later on in life there. So just keep grinding out there, man. Keep getting after it. Keep getting in the weight room. I go over to EOS in Palm Desert. Me and super producer Scott are always in there, and we see tons of guys from across the league, not just one school or the other, getting after it, getting ready for the season. So props to them on that, and continue to do it, because being in that weight room, sacrificing that time now in the off season during the summer when you have zero things to worry about, zero things to do, it will pay dividends in the long run when you're stronger, faster, and just downright more physical than the other person across from you. That is going to be huge moving forward for this football season, man, and I'm just super excited, getting fired up about it, just talking right now, getting through through it. I'm getting the goosebumps, the chills. It's going to be super awesome this year. We have a super, super competitive league from top to bottom. Anybody can get it, and anybody can win it, man. So it's going to be an excellent time to watch the Desert Empire League, as well as some Desert Valley League football, man. There's some great schools out there, some new faces from coaching positions from different schools, and possibly some new stars to be blooming in that Desert Valley League as well. I do want to hit on something because I did see the article about it the other day. This is some news that we've had for quite some time, and to be honest, here at Clahs and at Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority, we just honestly didn't feel comfortable putting out this information. Number one, not only without the consent to the player, but also I just didn't feel like it was pertinent to put out some, not necessarily, it's not negative news, but it's definitely not news that you want to hear about, and it's just so troubling, when you talk about injuries and you talk about guys that are going to have to miss entire seasons. You really don't want to put that kind of negative information out there for people to read, and for a player like his stature, it's not going to matter in the long run to me, but every time, you look it up or you Google his name, that article is going to pop up, and that information is going to be out there for everyone to consume. And I just don't think that it should be held against a player of his stature and a guy that is just so downright nasty on the football field. He's going to come back better than ever, and I know that it's not going to be an issue, but it just, to me, I just didn't feel comfortable putting out that information. And just like as everybody has read and has known, Donnie Fitzgerald, the superstar quarterback for Coachella Valley High School, has confirmed that he did tear his ACL in practices leading up to this season, and he has shut it down for the rest of the season and will get surgery on that right knee. And this is one that kind of hits home hard for me, man. When I first heard this information, talking to Coach Davis over there at Coachella Valley, man, it took a while for me to kind of just process it all. But, when you hear about a major injury, especially to such a great kid and a guy that just downright works hard every single day and is always getting after it and is always trying to get better and is always trying to compete, man, it hurts. And it hurts not to be able to watch this young man play. But for Donnie, I know that it's just going to be a little speed bump in the road, and I know that he is going to put in the hard work that it takes to get back. But that's, me still recovering from my knee injury, and it's been 9.5 months almost, of going on 10, getting ready for the season. It's not necessarily the ability to get back and the ability to get through all of that. It's the dog days of when it's week 4 or 5 or month 3, 4, 5, or 6 of that post-surgery rehab, and you have to get that thing moving, and it is so sore that you don't want to get up, but you have to just keep working at it and working at it and working at it. It is mentally one of the most difficult things to do for not just an athlete, but for someone in general, to be able to continue to work and make sure that they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and not taking time off just because, I just don't feel like working out today, or I just don't feel like it today, or it's skipping one day isn't really going to mess me up. But if you are truly committed to something like that, and you have an injury that you need to work back from, and you want to continue to play again, man, you have to really be mentally tough. And for a player like Donnie Fitzgerald, man, I know for a fact that he's not going to let this affect him, and I know that he's going to come back better than ever, and that he is going to still put fans in the stands, and he is going to light up the scoreboard when he returns. So for Donnie, it's been tough for me, man, because I've wanted to reach out to Donnie so much and be able to talk to him, but I know that he's getting it from all angles of different people telling him, it's all right, it's this, it's that. But until you're really in that situation, man, it's not a good feeling, and it's something that, you know, if you're an athlete or a person that is active all the time, it is very difficult to kind of just pump the brakes and allow yourself to get back to where you used to be, man. And so, you know, for Donnie, just want to keep loving him up, keep giving him prayers, and keep his spirits high. And for anyone out there, give him a shout out. You know, let him know that this isn't the end all be all, man. Because this used to be, and it's so crazy to think about now that I think about, you know, when coaches used to talk to me about how they blew out their knees and they did this and that was career ending. Now these are not rites of passage to be injured, because nobody ever wants to be injured, but these are things that easily can be overcome with the right mindset and the right drive to do so. So we're going to get past injuries. We're going to move on, and we are going to get into some other stuff, some other things, not including some high school football out here, but your local pro football with the SoCal Coyotes. Me coming back this year, it's going to be an awesome time. We have signed a new player to our squad this year that will be coming out to camp to continue his professional playing career. Former Super Bowl champion Jeremy Lane, previously from the Seattle Seahawks and previously part of that Legion of Boom. Most notably, you'll know Jeremy from when they played in that Patriots Super Bowl, picking off Tom Brady late in that first quarter and actually breaking his arm on that same play and was out the rest of the game. So for us to get a guy like Jeremy, who's an NFL vet, who's a guy that's been there, who's learned from Cam Chancellor, who's learned from Earl Thomas, who's learned from Richard Sherman, who had to be an integral part of that nickel spot on that defense and was playing at a high level for that defense. It's going to be awesome to be able to compete with him in practice. And knowing me, knowing the guys that I'm going to be around, the talking is going to be loud. The footballs are going to be coming his way as much as possible. I'm going to test the young man. I'm going to test myself. I'm going to test my receivers, test all of the guys around and see if we can compete at that same level as him. And it's just going to be awesome to have that kind of atmosphere and that vibe around as we get ready for our season and as we get ready for guys to be able to compete for this new XFL season that is coming up in February. And if you guys want to track what's going on, we do have a couple of guys who are being looked at already for this league. And if you want to hint, the Houston franchise did sign June Jones to be their head coach, general manager. June Jones also runs the run and shoot. Same offense that is ran over at Coachella Valley, same offense that's ran over at the SoCal Coyotes, and a little sprinkle of it over there at Xavier Prep. So you might see some guys playing on TV come springtime, man. So definitely come out to some of the games. We will be starting our games in September this year. Our first one will be at home, so be on the lookout for that. I'll have free tickets. We'll have giveaways. We'll be doing all of that stuff. So be on the lookout for your local stars here with the SoCal Coyotes, and also be on the lookout for local stars here in the Valley, as we have tons of them, and I believe tons of them are going to get picked up at the end of the year for some of these colleges looking for some great talent. And so we are going to get into some of the talent to look for this upcoming season. Me and Scott here have picked our ultimate teams, and we are going to have some guys that are saying maybe some different, maybe some controversies, maybe some guys you wouldn't pick, maybe some guys I wouldn't pick, but that's why we're here. That's what it's all about. So we are going to get into these ultimate teams, but first we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, this is Clahs.
The Classic Club, home of the nationally recognized championship course designed by Arnold Palmer, creates a new spin on desert golf with rolling terrain, wide landing areas, and beautiful surprises around every corner. Bellatrix Restaurant and Bar at the Classic Club is the destination for good times and excellent food with Mediterranean, Asian, and French accents. We also feature traditional steaks, seafood, and an extensive wine list. All of this together is what makes the Classic Club the preferred destination for Valley residents and visitors.
And we are back in class. I am Michael Carls, brought to you by Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority. And I am here live at the beautiful Classic Club today, enjoying a nice hot summer day here in the Valley. I would say come on down to the Classic Club and play some golf, but unfortunately it is closed for the summer as they are doing some things to the golf course. I know fixing some of the bunkers here and stuff, but when season does come back around, I do highly recommend you come out to the Classic Club, enjoy some golf, swing the sticks, hit some drives, make some putts. Classic Club is where it's at for some golf.
I love it, dude. They're redoing all the bunkers. It's a bunker renovation this summer.
Oh, yeah, and it's huge for the Valley here, too, because especially with the wind, some of these bunkers, man, all the sand just blows right out of it, and it's like hitting off concrete.
You're not the only one that said that. That's why they had they redid it. They did, I believe, a survey or the reviews just said bunkers are just horrible.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's going to be awesome. It's gonna
absolutely.
Be awesome now.
Hell yeah, and so we're talking to Scott Alvarez as well, super producer Scott here for Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority, for Clahs, for the Sport Report, all of that, and so we've picked our Valley Ultimate teams, I guess is the way we're gonna say
our
it.
Ultimate, man. It's like Madden.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Exactly.
You want to win with these kids. These kids are the ones that you would win with.
Exactly. So if you're new to the video game realm, some of the biggest things that they do now with these sports games are you're able to take players from all of the different teams in the league and be able to play with them on your roster. So if you really enjoy having one guy, like say you want Odell to be your wide receiver, but you also want Carson Wentz to be your quarterback,
exactly.
That is definitely plausible with the Ultimate Team. And you also want to have the best guys that you can. So,
and I think we did that. I definitely think we did that. We were comparing notes before we started, and I have some guys that you don't have.
Right.
You have some guys that I don't have that I went off of stats. You actually got to see like these people play in the DEL.
Right.
I just went purely off of stats, and I said, this is where I would put this guy.
Right.
This is where I'd put that guy.
And so we may now we don't necessarily know exactly where some of these guys play. We kind of from a recruiting standpoint, almost, we kind of just put these guys in spots where we believe they would be most successful for our Ultimate teams, but we also do have them in some of the spots that you will see them playing on Friday nights. So be on the lookout for that when you check out these guys and see if we're right, see if we're wrong, see if some of these guys make some other lists, see if they don't.
Exactly.
And it's going to be exciting to be able to see how we did to start the season and where it ends up at the end of the year. So normally we kick it off with offense, but I think let's start with the defense first. They don't really get the first love going on too much. So let's start with the defense, and let's most notably because we have tons of, I think one of the, and it's kind of weird to say because we're not normally known for that here in the Valley, but I think the front sevens for the Valley in general, with the DEL as well as DVL, Desert Valley League as well. We've combined both. The D-line and all offensive lines are some of the best groups here in the Valley. And those are some of the ones that made it the most difficult of who are we going to keep off the list, who are we going to have on the list, where are we going to have some of these guys at. And so I think the D-line, if we had any of them, it would be stacked, and we could travel with this D-line anywhere,
exactly.
To be honest.
I believe that.
So go ahead, Scott, and kick it off, and let's start with the first guy on your list.
All right, so on D-line, I've marked him as DN, but, I'm just going to say D-line. So D-line, I have Daniel Gayton from Coachella Valley High School.
Ooh.
Now this kid is 5'8", 190, 89 tackles, 36 solo, 13 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. I think this year is going to be his breakout year with Coachella Valley High School. I mean, you look at the stats from last year, and you can only build on that, man.
Right.
I mean, he's only going to get better in the offseason. I know, Davis is out there making sure his guys are always getting better, always developing the players. That's his goal.
Absolutely. And being a 5'8", 190 guy, he's not your prototypical size D end or D lineman. But, man, that actually kind of benefits a lot of guys, being able to slip past blocks, being able to use that speed. And sometimes, you may catch a guy off guard. If you have enough power and you have good technique and stay low and get good leverage, you can definitely put some offensive linemen in the quarterback's lap for sure.
Exactly. Definitely.
So I'm going to start off. I'm picking chalk here to start off my list because we did talk about him earlier. Jake Shipley, the D lineman, DN, tight end guy from Shadow Hills, is a guy, a force to be reckoned with for that Shadow Hills defense, a guy that is a leader on and off the field, a guy that is not only uses his strength and power for his physical play, but also uses it as an intimidating factor in terms of being able to be that guy for his team. Just as an example, I mean, I watched Jake play basketball last year for Shadow Hills, and he was that enforcer down there, bumping guys, running down court with them, letting them know that he's there, taking hard fouls, and I think he does the same on the football field, lets his presence be known, takes up a lot of blocks and opens up holes for the linebackers behind him to make plays. Being a D lineman is not one of the most prettiest jobs in the world, and you may not get all the stats that you want, but from a film standpoint, you can really tell what guys take over games and what guys don't. And I think Jake, this being his senior year, being the Pac-12 guy, being a guy that is already committed to a D1 school, he's going to let people know that he's that D1 guy. And for other guys, especially ones on this list for offensive line and D-line, they're going to try to go after him and let him know, hey, you're the D1 guy? All right, I'm going to let you know who I am now. Exactly. So he has to really be on his game this year because there are some other guys that want to be able to prove that they're D1 guys as well.
Exactly. And, I already caught flack from this guy. I'm going to catch flack from other people. I didn't have him on my list, but the only reason why I didn't have him on my list is because for me, I'm in the – I don't want to say business, but I'm in the business of upping other people's stock.
Sure.
This kid's already signed.
Sure.
Oh, I hope he does the greatest. I mean, his brother was a freaking legend at La Quinta.
Sure.
And I wish Jake nothing but the best, and I can't wait to see him start playing on Saturdays.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially being on the West Coast here, being in the Pac-12, being able to see him in all of those different Oregon outfits they got going on there. It's going to be awesome,
Maybe
man.
we'll see him on some 9 a.m. kickoffs.
Exactly.
That Pac-12 rule.
Exactly. All right, so I think how many guys you got on your list for D-line?
4.
All right, perfect. So I have 4 as well. So go ahead and kick off number 2.
Next one, Andrew Gonzalez out of Palm Desert High School.
Ooh.
6 foot, 250, 34 tackles, 16 solo.
Unbelievable. And so
size alone, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That size alone. And then those what I look at is the solo tackles, just huge. That means this kid's a playmaker who doesn't give up on the ball, who's just, he's either a run stopper or he's stopping that pass. Off of the stats, I don't know, but he's there.
Yep, absolutely. And for a Palm Desert defense that was pretty stingy last year, and being a guy that wasn't like the most known on that defense, being able to get those many solo tackles from a D-line standpoint is huge. And for a guy like that, they're going to be really looking to him to be able to eat up some blocks, especially with that Palm Desert defense. Basically bringing back maybe 1 or 2 returning linebackers, maybe a couple of returning DBs, but not very many returning guys on that defense there. So he is going to be one of those guys they're going to look for them to be able to boost their defense from that defensive line standpoint.
And I think of him, like everybody on our list, obviously, we're thinking your offense has to change to adjust for that guy. Absolutely. If that guy's making big plays, now you got to double team. You got to set up the running back. Now the running back's out of the play. I mean, that's why I picked these dudes, because they're going to be playmakers this year.
Absolutely. And so far, we've already picked two different guys here. My second one on this list, I'm probably being a little homer with this pick, but the dude is a monster and is already coming back from a torn ACL this year as well, is already full, clear, ready to go. And, oh, by the way, he's only a sophomore. Christian Escobedo from Xavier Prep is a big, physical young man who is there to get after it, and if he is mad, you better get out of his way because that young man will take your head off. First play of the game, another freshman that had to start at varsity his very first game of his high school career. Very first game. This is from the offensive line standpoint where he was playing against a tough Notre Dame Riverside team. We're in the red zone, gets a huge run block there to spring his guy and get us within first and goal, and is just pounding him 5 yards deep back in the backfield. Helmet's ripped off. He's flinging it all over the place, flinging guys all over the place. So the kid is physical. Big man, big size, already has the size to be dominant in high school. Jeez. And is just going to get better. I watched a video the other day of him pushing his dad in his truck down the street. The kid is a monster and is ready to go.
Sophomore?
Sophomore. And he tore his ACL last year and is already cleared, ready to go. Full go. Christian is going to be not only a guy to be reckoned with from a D-tackle standpoint. Now, he's not going to have the sack numbers that you may want or the tackles for losses that you may want or the solo tackles like our young man there from Palm Desert. But the dude is going to eat up blocks and is going to open up things huge for some of these linebackers that are going to be playing for Xavier Prep this year.
So let me just bring up this. As a coach who sees him at practice, what's his work ethic like?
And it is so funny because, Christian's like the type of kid you have to realize with some of these guys, they're only freshmen and sophomore. Yeah. So he's still just a young kid just trying to find himself, just trying to, see where he fits in this whole entire world and see what he's like and what his attitude is like. But when he crosses into those lines and when he puts on that helmet, he's a whole different type of animal, dude. And so that guy, day in and day out, is going to give you his best, and he's going to make sure that the guys around him give their best as well. He's a great leader without having to be the rah-rah, talk about it. He's a lead-by-example young man and is a well-coached young man, is a great family-type kid, and so Christian is going to be one to look out for this year for sure, and is only going to be a sophomore.
Definitely for the future, too. I mean, as a sophomore, he's still growing. Dude.
Yes, absolutely.
That is insane.
Absolutely.
All right, my third pick. Here we go, out of left field. Seth Williford.
Ooh.
6 foot, 215 pounds from 29 Palms High School.
Ooh,
there you go. I got some DBL in there.
There you go.
30 tackles, 8 solo, 7 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks.
Unbelievable. Okay, for 29 Palms and for a team that didn't really do much in terms of the DVL last year, had to play against tough opponents like Coachella Valley. Yep. Had to play against Banning when they had the young man that went to Oregon State this year. So for a guy like that to be able to be physical for his team, for a team that's not really known to have the greatest of defense, comes out and is able to lead his team from that D-line spot. Yep. I think a lot of these guys are going to have to kind of be moved around and help their teams in different ways. And I see that young man as one of those guys that, may always have to go to the strength of the D-line or may always have to go to the tight end side. That way he can set the edge physically for his defense and for his team.
Yeah, and like you said, 29 Palms might not have had a huge impact in the DVL, winning record or anything like that. But the biggest thing you can take away from his stats is something that Ross Robertson with the SoCal Coyotes said, and shout out to Ross, his first practice with us. Don't count the reps, make the reps count.
Absolutely.
These stats, this kid is making those reps count no matter what's going on in the game. You're giving 100%. You're just going because, you need that film.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
film is going to sell you. The coaches don't care what the score is. All they want to see when they're recruiting is this kid making plays or is he taking it off?
Right. Absolutely.
That's huge.
And it's big, especially for the offensive line and defensive line guys. Man, that it's tough sledding down there, and a lot of those guys might have to play both ways. So to be able to be up for both sides of the ball, and for him to be able to play at a high level and not worry about like the reps and if I'm tired or this or that is huge, and that's going to be a big part for that 29 Palms team.
Yep, exactly.
My third guy on this list, we're still rocking and rolling with different names
here. We might have
to
take a break after the D-line.
I know, right? So my third guy here, I have from La Quinta, Christian Morcus, a guy that is a good presence for that La Quinta D-line. Now, when I always think about La Quinta, I think about the big guys up front. I think about how they're always physical, they're always well coached, and they're technically sound. They're always in the right spots. And for a guy like that to be able to have some pretty good stats, I don't have them right in front of me at the moment, but for him to have some good stats from that D-line really helped open up tackling lanes for the DEL Desert Sun Defensive Player of the Year, Fred Massey, the linebacker for La Quinta. Being able to eat up blocks is huge, and he is just another guy that does so with a big physical presence, and is a guy that you're going to have to look out for day in and day out and week to week. And so for La Quinta, a team that is still kind of in their second year, looking for an identity almost with new head coach Bubba Rivenez, and they're still trying to figure out, offensively, what kind of team are they, and are they still the dominant physical presence defensively? Are they going to just man you up and blitz the snot out of you, or are they going to be a team that kind of likes to match up and then use their defensive line as the focal point to get pressure on the quarterback? I don't know that yet, and so to have a guy like Christian be able to come back and be able to be a physical presence for Bubba and that La Quinta defense is huge. And
exactly. Yep. And you brought up a great point. They're going through that transition still, which is, new head coach comes in. He's got a different style maybe. Yep. I don't know, because you said, he was coached by Armstrong.
Right.
And he was on Blackburn's staff.
Right.
So he's taken things from both schools, I think, and just molded them together to make it his own. And you got to understand, every kid from La Quinta that's on our list, they are doing what they're being asked to do.
Exactly.
I mean, you go from being a sophomore on varsity, and now you're being taught something totally new.
Right.
You got to trust and you got to buy into the system, and that's what these kids did. And he's just putting them into a position where they're going to be successful, I think.
Absolutely.
Coming from La Quinta, I love it. I love it.
Right. And it's difficult for La Quinta last year. They had some ups and downs, some bumps in the road there, especially with losing to Coachella for the first time in a long time, and then losing to Xavier Prep the last game of the season to get knocked out of the playoffs for the first time in school history. Shout out Xavier Prep, Brad McClure, 2-minute drill. What's up? But that's some the pains and the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows that they're going to have to go through. Yep. and being able to have guys in spots that are, D-line and O-line. If you got guys there, if you got boys, you can do some things, and I think that La Quinta is going to be doing some things moving forward.
Exactly, especially with him on D-line.
Absolutely.
All right. So my last guy on D-line, and I think according to his size, he's a little bit out of position, but that's what these kids do. They are doing what they're being asked to do by their coaches. Mm-hmm. And at 5'8", 170 from Desert Mirage High School, we have Paul Diarte, and I picked him 63 tackles,
nice.
3 sacks on the year, bro.
63 tackles, that's pretty good from a D-line spot.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. And with Desert Mirage, not really known as one of the better teams out in the Valley, always have an excellent run game. So for those guys, and I'm sure, being one of the smaller schools, some of those guys are going to have to play both ways. So for him to be able to, from the D-line standpoint, be kind of like always a knockout, drag-out type game when you play Desert Mirage, because they are going to get their run touches in, and games are going to be physical and go through fast. So for a guy like that to be able to rack up the tackles and be able to help set the edge for his team, because it is most of the time when you play Desert Mirage, it is going to be a run battle back and forth. And so for him, that's going to be huge for Desert Mirage to be able to have him come back.
Yeah, and this just shows you that the schools can be small, the schools can have the record that they have, but they all have playmakers on their squad, and we can't ignore those playmakers just because, of a losing record or because they're in the DVL or whatever it is. Whatever your excuse is to overlook these kids, it's inexcusable.
No, absolutely.
You can't.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off of the reminder of not every single guy needs to go D1, or just because you don't go D1 doesn't mean you can't play college football, man. Some of these guys that are really good football players may not be physically the greatest in the world, but are really good football players. These small schools are looking for that. They're looking for good football players that they can coach and that they can get the most out of and have the heart and the drive and the will. And so for a guy like that from Desert Mirage, I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these guys that from small schools be able to get looked at, not only for junior colleges, but also for some of these D3s or NAIAs or Division 2s.
Exactly, and that's our whole goal, is to get these guys out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Promote them. We never want to hurt anyone's stock, right?
Exactly, exactly. Don't want to hurt stock. We're only trying to up it. That's for sure. So for my last D-line spot, I mean, I've been going chalk, I guess, pretty much the whole time. This young man is going to be a junior. Jack Howard from Xavier Prep is one of the most technically sound football players that I've ever been around, ever been able to coach. And from a defensive end standpoint, this guy does everything that you want, does everything you ask. You can put him at the 5, you can put him at the 3, you can put him at the 1. He can do a wide 9 and go rush your quarterback. He can help set the edge. He can read screens. He can shock, lock, rip, throw down, get through, and play the ball. There's nothing that Jack Howard can't do on a football field, and the proof is in the pudding. When you see him this year have to be able to play all different types of spots on the field, whether it be D-line, safety, linebacker, corner, DB. It doesn't matter. On the defensive side of the ball, Jack can play everywhere, and he can be really good at it. And I think this is going to be Jack's coming out party in terms of people are not going to just say, oh, well, he's only a freshman. Oh, well, he's only a sophomore. Well, he doesn't have the greatest physical size. But, dude, the man can play football, and he's been playing it for his entire life. That has something to say about that. A guy that can go in and day out, and he has not missed a single snap his entire high school career yet. So for Jack Howard, man, you're going to see some things, and you're going to be shocked at what you see from Jack Howard. And don't be surprised if you see him as one of the contenders for Defensive Player of the Year.
I totally left him off my list. Or did I?
Or did he?
Or did I?
I have no idea. We'll find out. One of the honorable mentions I did want to get to for the D-line as well, this kind of like a tweener guy that nobody knows about unless you're like deep into the high school football realm, is Marcus Eason. He's going to be a D-lineman at Rancho Mirage. He was an all-state guy, I believe, in the state of Michigan last year, is getting looked at by some big-time schools, and is a guy that,
here's the dark horse.
Dude, he's D1 size, D1 ready already, and is going to be one of the guys that you're going to have to look for in your game plan day in and day out against Rancho Mirage. So look out for Marcus Eason. If you don't know the name, you will eventually.
Wow, that's nuts. Do you want to just go over the R4 one more time?
Yeah, so just to recap R4, I'm going to start off with mine. Jake,
the easy list.
Yes, the easy list, right? Jake Shipley from Shadow Hills.
There we go. Congrats.
Christian Escobedo from Xavier Prep. Christian Morcus from La Quinta. Jack Howard from Xavier Prep. And honorable mention, Marcus Eason from Rancho Mirage.
That's awesome. I got Daniel Gayton, CVHS. Andrew Gonzalez, Palm Desert High School, Seth Williford, 29 Palms High School, and Paul Diarte, Desert Mirage High School. So
awesome.
Congrats to you guys. You're on the ultimate team. Look forward to an email from us because we're going to be getting a lot of stuff for you guys.
Yeah,
going
heck
out there.
yeah, absolutely.
We're in the business of helping you, not in the business of destroying your careers.
For sure. Yeah, 100%.
All
right, so we're going to move on to linebackers now. For me, I have 3 to 4 linebackers that I can list off. Scott, what do you got?
I got 3.
Okay, perfect. You started off the list.
All right, here we go. Diego Sanchez, 6'1", 190, La Quinta High School. 116 tackles, 31 solo. 116 tackles, dude.
Yep, absolutely. And for a guy that had to play next to Defense Player of the Year Fred Massey, a guy that had to pretty much keep up with him and step his game up, and a guy that's on my list as well, Diego Sanchez, is a dude that's going to be their leader for that defense, man, and is going to keep guys in line, is going to get them in the right spots, and is going to be out there making plays, making tackles for his squad. Diego is a unbelievable football player, man. For us last year playing against them, very tough to run the football in between the tackles against La Quinta, especially with a guy like Christian Morcus eating up blocks, and then you had Diego and Fred Massey both fill in those gaps there. I think Diego is going to not only take that 116 tackles and eclipse it, but is going to be more closer to that 150 range or 140 range. I think he's going to be all over the field for that team.
Yeah.
So for a guy like Diego, that's going to be huge for that La Quinta team, and he's going to be able to put his team in positions to win defensively.
So for my guys on linebackers too, though, what I did was I looked at it as a recruiter's stance, you know, how I used to do at COD and stuff, and how I'm doing for the Coyotes. And I'm just looking at Diego Sanchez, his size alone, 6'1", 190. If I'm looking at him as a recruiter and I'm looking at his tape, I'm seeing I could put another 20 pounds on this kid, and he'll be my run stopper.
Yeah.
You know, as a linebacker,
absolutely.
dude, he has the perfect height. He's going to get the perfect size. It's going to be great. He's definitely D1 caliber right there.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more on that. For a guy, so since you have Diego Sanchez on your list already, I'll pick a different guy for this one since I have 3 or 4. My next guy on this list was a guy that kind of is a tweener, 3-4, walk up, stand up, rush the passer type guy.
Okay.
Derek Pine out of Palm Desert was a guy that didn't have the flashiest of numbers last year, but was able to play alongside a guy like Jack Queenan and Honorary Solomon over there at Palm Desert to help free those guys up. But Derek is going to have a way bigger role this year for that Palm Desert team. Not the greatest of size, 5'9", 215, but is still a big enough presence to be able to help lead that team, especially a guy that's going to be a returner. Like we've been saying, Palm Desert is losing a lot of guys this year, and they're going to have a lot of new faces that are going to have to make a lot of plays. And so for Derek, they're going to really be looking for him to make some of those plays this year. And I believe that he's going to be one of those guys that is going to do so.
Well, geez, at 5'9", 215 as a recruiter, you're looking at him and you're saying, okay, if he obviously can't grow taller,
sure,
but where could I put him somewhere else in the field? What's his work ethic like? What are his grades like?
Right.
That's going to be the biggest factor. The biggest factor for all these kids is grades. If you can keep your grades, you can go anywhere.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. But, yeah, as a recruiter, 5'9", 215, I'm looking all around the field. Where is this kid going to fit for me? Which is something that Taylor Pope brought up. You know, sometimes you'll see other kids get picked, right? And you're thinking, well, dude, I'm better than that guy.
Right.
But it just depends on where that coach sees you fitting in that program.
Right.
That's the biggest thing to take away. Don't get discouraged if someone else gets signed and you think you're better than them. It's just they're a better fit.
Absolutely. And that goes along with, having the willingness to have an open mind as a football player and not getting so caught up in, well, I'm the X wide receiver. I play the left side, and that's the only side I play, and I'm only a right tackle. I can't play left tackle. I'm only a linebacker. I can't play rover, right? So you have to have the willingness to be a football player first and then your position second, right? That's what I used to always tell recruiters whenever they used to come talk to me. First question normally is like, oh, so you play quarterback, right? I tell them, Coach, I'm a football player first and a quarterback second, right? So I will play wherever you need me to play, and then I can be integral to your team at a certain position wherever it is that you see me fit.
Exactly. Don't don't give them a reason to say no to you already.
Exactly.
Well, this kid just wants to play left.
Exactly.
This guy just wants to play right.
And little tips and tricks here for getting recruited by colleges and whatnot. I don't condone lying. Okay, so I'm not saying that. But when they ask you those types of things, oh, well, have you ever played this position for? Or are you willing to play this position? Yep, coach. I have practiced it quite a few times. Haven't really got too much game reps on it, but I am willing to. I love playing football. I will play this position, that position, those positions. It's the same almost like when they go to NFL, the NFL Combine, and they ask questions. Oh, what was your favorite team growing up? What team am I sitting down with?
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
The Cowboys. Oh, man, I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan my entire life.
Major key.
Bleed that silver and blue, man. That's America's team. I love this. I love that, right? So you're not necessarily lying, but you're stretching the truth a little bit, so then that way they don't just automatically mark you off,
exactly.
right?
Like the biggest thing we're saying is don't give them a reason to say no before they even like get you on the field or, before you even really have a good conversation with them.
Absolutely. All right, go ahead. Second one.
Okay, so I didn't really mark them like left bat, right bat, but I think definitely Mike would be Jack Howard.
Ooh,
there you go.
And so we're talking linebackers. So now, okay, so Jack, I had Jack on the D-line here, and now you have Jack Howard as your Mike, your middle linebacker.
Yeah.
And go ahead and explain why.
6'1", 225. That's a beast, dude. That's a run stopper. If I could see him at like some film of him covering guys, dude, he'd be an all-around Mike right there. But that's a run stopper right there. That's a guy who's filling the gap. That's a guy who's reading the linebacker. He's tall enough. He's big enough. He's gonna be a scary dude. Like let's not beat around the bush. He's gonna be a scary guy. Put 10 more pounds on him. He's gonna be a beast. Dude.
Absolutely.
I mean, and then he also had 89 tackles, 40 solo, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 5 sacks, and 15 tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at D-line.
Yep.
Imagine him finally being free, not having to, oh, man, I have to worry about this stupid double team right here.
Right.
No, I'm going to hit this gap, and I'm going to put my helmet into it, and whoever meets me there is going to be sorry. That's what I see.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, too, because for Xavier Prep defensively, they're losing their Mike linebacker, Tommy Branconier, who was at one point top 5 in the state in tackles, was a second-team all-small school state guy. That means not only Southern California but Northern California as well, was on the second team as a linebacker there. So for a guy for a defense that's missing 160 tackles, how do you replace that? Oh, we just put our best defensive player there and make it happen. Now, so for Jack, and it's funny for Jack because he does so many things for Xavier Prep that require him to be selfless and require him to do things that he may not normally do. So for one of the things that we like to do is when we go to 7-on-7s or passing camps, we'll put him in spots that we may not necessarily use him at during the year, but to show people his versatility, to show where he can play and how he can move and react. So we put him a few times at tight end. In the red zone is unstoppable because he's just such a big boy out there, like is such a big target and has great hands. But from a linebacker standpoint, we put him at middle linebacker a lot during our 7-on-7 and passing league, and the man can cover. He can get out there. He can get to your hook to curl. He can get deep on the middle seam in cover 2, and he can run with your slot guy. He can run with your tight end, and he has great ball skills.
And you just said the keyword. I don't want to cut you off, but I have to. The man, like that is a man out there among boys.
He's the physical presence. He is a man out there, and it is so funny because you look at his size and you look at him and you're like, oh man, we can run past this guy, no problem. Dudes were having not only trouble getting away from him because he's just so physically more dominant than you, but was able to run with guys and stay in their hip pockets. And I mean, you're going to see Jack all over the field this year, and I think, like I said, it was his coming out party. And if you see him at the linebacker spot, don't be surprised, right? I mean, you had him on your list there as a linebacker, and you see him at a linebacker spot from a recruiting standpoint.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to see him there anywhere else.
Yep, exactly. And you know what? If you don't believe us, you'll see it because what did his dad do? His dad reached out and said, I need you to put his highlight up. Of course we will.
Yeah,
if you guys need it, we will do it. You want us to put a photo of you up and, some stats? Send it to us. You want us to put a video up of you working out or a video of you doing anything? Send it to us, and we will do that. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been trying to work out we're going to have Jack on the show soon, like very soon. Like
can't do it right now.
Like super soon. Yeah, so if you didn't know rules about the dead period during the football, before football starts, there is like this period of time where if you're affiliated with your school as a coach, you're not allowed to talk, coach, train, or anything like that with players on your own team, which come on, CIF. Are you kidding me right now? So, like, for me, like, this is just so everybody can just jump into my world. So, for me, for my senior quarterback who is on the cusp of getting a Division I scholarship, I can't talk to him about anything. I can't even go to the field with him to work on things because of some dumb rule that tells me that he's getting some sort of advantage in that aspect. Yeah, he's getting an advantage of being a better football player, getting ready for college, getting ready for the season. What is wrong with that? That makes no sense to me. What benefits, what negative connotations does that come from by helping out my own players? I have no idea. So for that's the reason why we haven't been able to have Jack on the show yet, is because I'm not allowed to talk to him about the season, that, the other, because of dead period.
So I should clarify that. His dad didn't send it to us. His dad sent it to me.
Correct, yes.
So there we go. I just
sent it to Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority, and actually sent it to the SoCal Coyotes as well. Shout out. So, I mean, not to like get sidetracked here, but like
what really grinds your gears?
No, but for like local guys, some local guys that may have tried the JUCO route and it may have not worked, have also reached out to us as well. So if you're a guy that is maybe struggling in the classroom from junior college standpoint, or you're looking for a different type of way to get some film, hit up the SoCal Coyotes, man. We got some boys over here,
and we maintain NCAA eligibility.
Absolutely. So there is no you won't lose any of your eligibility when it comes to that. Your clock doesn't start. You don't get money, this, that. You won't get any of that stuff. So yes, it's currency is your game film, man. So don't be afraid to get a little shout out there to SoCal Coyotes and put your inquiry in, man. We're always looking for guys. So the guy on my list here, I have from Palm Springs, I have Justin Murray. Okay, so there's two guys over there in Palm Springs that have two linebackers that they have returning this year. I've decided to pick Justin just for the simple fact that I believe he's a guy that gets after it and was a guy that was very huge in stopping the run, especially versus us, Xavier Prep versus Palm Springs last year. Really forced us to almost throw the football more than what we wanted to. Was able to read his keys, is well coached, and is going to be an excellent football player for them this year, and is going to help them stay in some games defensively. I like Justin's game. I like where he's at. Go Big Red. Shout out Palm Springs alum, CIF champ 2009. Justin is a great football player, man, and it's going to be exciting to be able to watch him blossom into a leader as well for that defense.
Awesome. I mean, I expect a lot of great things from Palm Springs moving forward. There's something coming up this year. What's this year?
Right, yeah, no, so what's funny is I've heard through the grapevines that Coach Murph over there is really excited about his team, and I've heard the quote that Palm Springs is back. They're back, huh? Okay, well, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in that Desert Empire League, man, and one of the positions that they're going to have to kind of find a solution for is the quarterback position as well. We'll get into that later with these teams, but yeah.
I think it's going to be a special year because he's going to emphasize with them, like, guys, this is our 10-year anniversary of our first CIF. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't get you moving, I don't know what will.
Exactly.
I mean, what was your motivation going into that CIF season?
Well, for me, it was anytime that I talked to anybody about their expectations for the year, a lot of guys that I talked to were like, I just hope that we can compete for the DVL championship, right? Or we can get a league title. To me, it was CIF or bust the whole way through from day one to December 12th, 2009, man. That was the goal the entire time. So if you have that mindset the entire way, the skies are the limit, especially when you have a group of guys that are on the same page as you.
Exactly.
For sure.
I just think, are you going to stop by there, maybe give a little pep talk?
You know what? I might have to just see what's going on over there. I know it's been kind of tough, like being the offensive coordinator over at Xavier Prep and Coach Brown. Shout out Coach Brown, who was my DC over at Palm Springs. Me just giving him fits week after week with Xavier Prep and the offense. But no, I love the staff over there, and I love Palm Springs, and the league is always better when Palm Springs is better. I always say, man, it's like in Game of Thrones, man. Palm Springs runs that north, and it is difficult to go when you're from Palm Desert or La Quinta or Xavier Prep, and you got to get on that freeway, and you get off that Date Palm exit, and you get past that airport, and now you're in the thick of Palm Springs, and you got to go to Ralph Watts Stadium and play in that environment with the dimmed lights that aren't as bright as everywhere else, and the crown field, and you got the cement stands. Like, that's different from anywhere else. It's a different environment. You have to be up for that and be ready to go.
It's true. Wow. Okay, so
last one here, right? So this is your third guy, right?
Tayton Chartel.
Okay.
5'11", 180.
Where's he from?
Yucca Valley High School.
Yucca Valley, okay. Another DVL guy.
Now, I picked this guy, 73 tackles, 42 solo, 11 tackles for loss with 2 sacks. That's another guy who I think, as a recruiter, you're looking at him and you're saying, okay, if he's undersized, he can definitely make plays somewhere.
Right.
Let's put him somewhere on our team. We cannot overlook this kid.
Right.
I mean, what kind of effort does that tell you that this kid's giving at 73 tackles, bro?
No, yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about, like, the recruiting for these guys, when you talk about the size, if some of these guys are undersized as linebackers but still have the speed to play like a safety or a rover type spot, those are some really fun spots to play. You're out in space, you're able to play some coverage, and you're also be able to blitz and stop the run. So for some of these guys, they're just kind of proving that their size is not stopping them from sticking their nose in and being able to be a force in the run game. Now, most of these guys, with the size and being able to be athletic and stuff, can play in space and be able to cover. But a lot of these schools, a lot of these recruiters want to see, are you willing to stop the run and stick your nose in? There's a difference being able to do it, and then there's a difference being able or willing to do it as well.
Well, I look at the tackles for loss, 11 tackles for loss. That means he's getting past the line somehow.
Right.
I mean, if it's I didn't really see any of their video, but I hopefully will get his highlights soon.
Right.
We can see him doing the run stop, or we can see him stopping maybe a screen pass.
Right.
Either way, those tackles for loss, he's blowing through that line. He's going past that line of scrimmage.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you on that. So for my last guy here, I have a linebacker from Shadow Hills, Jaden Donovan. 70 tackles on the year, 5'11", 200 pounds, great size, good-looking kid, a dude that is physical. He lets his presence be known on the field in terms of being able to take on blocks and take on those hits, but is also going to let you know when he makes a good play out there. For Jaden, being able to play with a guy like Jake Shipley and being able to set the tone for the next level. If you got a guy like Shipley on the D-line there, being able to get those guys involved there, and then being able to have a linebacker, inside linebacker to be exact, with Jaden, being able to set the tone for his guys on that end, and then being able to get the back end ready to go, that is going to be huge. And I think Jaden is going to be in order for Shadow Hills to make the playoffs and for them to have a shot at the league title, he is going to be one of those guys that's going to have a good year.
Oh, definitely. Their defense is going to have to be on spot this year. I mean, but if you're on defense and you just see that the kid ahead of you, Jake Shipley, has a Scully to Oregon, how does that affect you?
I'm on the same team as him.
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Guys are going to come to his games, and they're going to come to my games.
And you're going to play better.
Right.
I think that's what's going to happen this year is that defense is just going to get elevated, and that's what's going to be magical for them, and it's going to be magical for everybody else as we start seeing these guys sign and we start seeing them getting big offers. Everybody else is going to play better because you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you know that there's scouts in that audience, you're just going to want to play better, keep your mind right, and make those big plays so you can say, I gave it my all. That guy saw everything that I had to give. I left it on the field.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's going to happen this year for Shadow Hills. I mean, dude, everybody's going to be looking at Jake Shipley. But the thing is, and I tell people this all the time with the Coyotes, every time someone's looking at one guy, there's the other 10 on the field that have to be noticed as well.
So true.
Have to be noticed.
And the perfect example of that is a guy like Aaron Rodgers playing at Butte College up in Northern California, junior college. They play good football up there in Butte. They're a good little junior college football team. But he always talks about how Jed Tedford, who at the time was the quarterback's coach and I think head coach of Cal Berkeley at the time, was going to recruit his tight end or offensive lineman or somebody like that. And then they asked, who's the guy throwing the football? Like, this guy's got some whiz on his arm, man. Like, this guy can sling it. Like, let me talk to him, right? So they weren't initially even looking at Aaron Rodgers, and then now he gets his shot because of another guy that they were looking at, and they just happened to see him, right? So you never know what guys are looking for, who they're looking for, what they're looking at. So we always tell guys, your film is currency. The eye in the sky don't lie. Play within your means. That doesn't mean I'm going to try to make every single play because there's somebody in the stands watching me. Let me do my job. Let me show them the right technique. Let me show them that I can play football at a high level.
Exactly, because recruiters, when they come out here, it's costing that school money. So they got to get as much bang for their buck as they can. So, yeah, they're looking at one guy. They're here for one guy, but they're trying to see as many people as they can. If they can find that diamond in the rough, that just proves to that head coach that scout is worth something. Yeah. And that's all they're trying to do is they're going to be looking at everybody. It's not just that one guy. So if you – and one thing I told the Coyote players recently, if you decide to take a play off, congrats, you just ruined your game film.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just ruined your game film. Yeah. You know, and you can't afford to do that. Everybody on this list, I don't think they will. But, got to make those reps count, like you said earlier.
Absolutely, and I always try to remind the guys over at Xavier too, especially like when, because I was one of them. When I was a quarterback, man, and I knew it was a run play. Oh, thank God, I get to take a break off and just hand the ball off and let me just jog out and pretend like I'm paying attention. Or if like wide receiver Randy Moss used to just stand there on run plays. Nobody in this valley is Randy Moss. Nobody in this valley is the number one recruit in the entire world, nation, whatever you want to call it.
In the world.
So you need to make sure that every single one of your reps is on film and getting looked at and that they can't use that against you. My little cousin, Daniel Stabile, who arguably, I'll argue, is one of the greatest football players to ever come out of Xavier Prep, was playing in a game against Palm Springs his senior year against the Hawkins brothers, one of which is at San Diego State. The other one is at Sac State. And he was playing wide receiver, and the ball was on the completely opposite side of the field. And one of the Hawkins brothers was blocking him or driving him like, I don't know, 10, 15 yards away from the play, dumps him. They get up. He pulls him up, and he's like, hey, sorry, bro. Like, I got to do it for the film. Like, there's no hard feelings. I'm not trying to, like, dump on you or anything like that, but, like, I can't take a play off on the film. Like, and that's the whole point right there. Yeah, of course, I'm going to get mad if I get dumped on film too, but these guys aren't going to just take it off just because you're buds. Like, this is life right here. This is like you're competing for a job. You're competing for a career. You're competing for the school that you want to go to, right? So if you don't take it serious now, you're not going to take it serious in Game 7 of the third quarter, and it's 2nd and 12, and you got to make a run block for your running back in the backfield there, right?
Exactly.
It's so many factors that go into it. So let's recap our linebackers here, starting with Scott's list here. I
went Diego Sanchez, La Quinta High School. Jack Howard, Xavier, Tayton Chartel, Yucca Valley High School.
And for my list here, I had Diego as well. I also had Derek Pine from Palm Desert, Jaden Donovan from Shadow Hills, and Justin Murray from Palm Springs.
I like that. I like that Derek Pine one. And, I look forward to seeing this linebacking core, dude. Like, honestly, seeing them do some work this year.
Well, so, like, all these linebackers, they're going to be new faces that we don't really know too much about. Besides, maybe Diego we know more about than any of them because he has 116 tackles.
Yeah.
But you got guys like I mentioned previously, Honoré Solomon is gone. You have Jack Quinnen who's gone. Fred Massey's gone. Tommy Branconier's gone. Fabrice Voyne is gone. All of these big-time names that were impactful defensively last year are all gone. So these guys are going to have to step up for their squads respectively.
Definitely. All right, DBs, CBs.
Yep.
How do you want to name it?
So I'm just going to say defensive backs.
There we go.
And just kind of put them where the chips fall, and kind of just talk about each one of them. To me, I'm going to start off now. My first guy from La Quinta. He was I believe he was from returners last year. He's the leading interceptions leader from last year from guys that are returning. It's Justin Kersey Casillas out of La Quinta. Ball hawk type of guy. Is a guy that's going to not be afraid to make a play on the ball. May not always be in the best position, but is going to put him in a position to make a play, and that's all you can ask for from a DB standpoint. Especially in the Valley here, teams are starting to throw the ball a little bit more. You got guys like Coachella out there. You got Xavier trying to do some more things. You got Palm Springs kind of throwing the ball a little bit more. But for the most part, teams are mostly run and then play action pass, right?
Exactly.
So for a DB, you have to really stay disciplined. You really have to read your keys. You really have to stay in your pedal longer than you probably think you should, and not react to any of the play fakes, because most of the time all these teams and it's just hilarious to me. Most of these teams, all they're really trying to do is just get a play fake, throw the ball up, and see if their guy wins a 50-50 matchup, or they're going to get a play or a pass interference off of it.
Well, yeah, I remember from being in high school, I want to say we went through like a stint where everybody wanted that dual threat quarterback. Why? So he could run. And that's all we did. We had La Quinta was known for their running backs. They were known for their running quarterbacks. They were known for the quarterbacks that could make that, I'm going to run out and I'm going to throw it kind of deal. Now we got people stopping the run. So what do you have to do? You have to open it back up by throwing, which, I think these DBs are going to see a lot of balls coming their way this year.
Yeah, and I really feel like, because it used to be, I remember back when we were in school having to game plan for teams, and we got 8-9 guys in the box here just to stop the run because they're not going to throw a lick of the ball. Like, that's crazy to me. So for the DBs in the Valley, you really got to be on your P's and Q's and not fall asleep out there, because you never know when that play action pass is going to come.
Exactly. So for me, I have Jesse Meza, M-E-Z-A, 6 foot, 180, Yucca Valley High School, plays both sides of the ball. But what caught my eye was he had 60 tackles with 40 of those solo and 6 interceptions. That's nasty.
Oh, yeah.
That's nasty at that height, bro.
And 6 picks in a 10-game span is difficult, man. That's not easy to come by right there. That's not easy to come by.
At that height, 180, college recruiter, you're looking at him, you're saying he plays both sides of the ball. I could put 15, 20 pounds on this kid, and he could still play both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a guy like that, at 180, that's pretty good for being in high school and being able to move on. There's some growth in there, man. Like 180, I mean, not to just keep going back to me, but I was only 170, 175 as a senior, and didn't really have any issues of being too physical or out somebody being stronger than me or this, that, and the other. If you're in the weight room and you use that weight pound for pound better than anyone else, it doesn't matter what size you're at.
It's true. But I liked with him, man, those 6 interceptions, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So him and Justin both had 6 interceptions last year, which is huge in a 10-game span. The league leader last year was with 8. So 6 is not far off of that list right there. And, that's – you think about what we just said, all the teams that don't really throw, and those guys are able to make plays on the football, that naturally is pretty impressive.
Exactly. So my second guy, I had Justin. So go ahead for your second guy.
So my second guy here, the next returning guy with the most picks, I have Jevin Dorsey, who's a wide receiver DB type from Rancho Mirage, a guy that had 4 picks last year in 10 games. A Rancho Mirage defense that kind of was beat up a lot. They had Rancho Mirage coming into DEL last year had a lot of people looking at them to pick up some wins. Rancho Mirage still looking for their first DEL win going into the next year, but had a lot of injuries that they had to overcome, not just from the quarterback position with David Talley, their star quarterback, but as well on that defensive side of the ball. A couple of DBs that went out early in the year, and a lot of young guys that had to step up, one including Jevin Dorsey, who is, in my opinion, is going to be one of those guys on that back end for Rancho Mirage that is going to be a very good presence for them, not only being able to make plays on the football, but being able to stick his nose down there in the run game.
I love it. I love that you picked Rancho Mirage because I think they are overlooked with the fact that, they didn't win a game in DEL. But like we said, they got playmakers. Every school has playmakers.
Hey,
dude.
they're 1 2-point conversion away from being a CIF champion, man. So, they know what it takes to get to those types of games and to be in those types of battles, right?
Exactly. And I think this year they're going to come out really strong, only because, okay, we dipped our toe in the pool. Now we got to dive in. We got to buy into the program. We got to believe our coach. That's the biggest thing. You just have to understand that your coach is going to put you in the best situation to be successful, and that's all these guys have to do is just buy into the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't
and,
agree more.
Not do what they're told, but do what they're being asked to do.
Right.
All right. So continuing that Rancho Mirage, I got Cesar Ledesma.
Cesar.
Ledesma.
Yes, sir.
5'10", 135, 47 tackles, 41 solo, 2 interceptions, 7 pass deflections.
So
7 pass deflections is huge at 5'10",
yeah,
135.
Yeah, a 5'10" guy, not the greatest size in terms of weight, but 5'10", that's a good length right there. I like that. The long type of DBs, that's the way the game is kind of going these days. A guy that's long enough to be able to make plays on the football up in the air, but also fast enough to be able to run with some of these speedy guys in the slot there. I like that. Now, being a guy that's 135 pounds and he had 47 tackles and 40 of them were solos is pretty impressive to me. So, as a DB, not to go back to me again, but my junior year I played safety, right? And my nickname at Palm Springs was the supervisor. So in 11 games total, I had 12 tackles, Scott. I had 12 tackles total. But you know what? I made sure guys were on the ground. It may not had all the solos, but made sure if there were 2 or 3 guys on the pile, I'm jumping on to clean it all up, right? So as a DB, you just need to make sure you get the guy on the ground and give your defense another shot to fight on that drive.
Exactly. And, seeing this kid with those tackles and with those interceptions are huge. And the pass deflections, that's big, dude. That's big for a kid his size to just get up there and get that ball out of there. That's to me, looking at it as a recruiter standpoint, this kid's going to make plays for me. I just got to find where.
Right.
And it might not – I don't want to say it might not be at a D1, but this kid, wherever he goes, is going to be freaking special.
Right. And it's not – when we say making plays as well, to me, he's not the guy that's going to make the flashy play. He's not going to go make that pick and then crib it for you. But a deflection, a PBU, a knockdown is huge for a defense.
Oh, yeah.
And it's huge morale for a guy that – okay, the next time that ball comes that way, maybe I will pick it this time, or I can just swat it again and live to see another day. Exactly. And as a quarterback, you get frustrated when a guy that you think you can pick on is now starting to swat your ball away, and now you're like, all right, well, fine, I'm just going to go to the other side now.
Yeah, exactly. What does that do? That takes one side of the ball away, one side of the field away. I can't throw that way. Why? Because that kid is there and he's waiting for that pick, man. I know he's hungry. He's already hit it twice, Yep. Now I got to go somewhere else. So he takes that whole side off the field,
Yeah.
Whoever he's covering.
Absolutely. And that's a great segue into my next guy, who arguably can be the best DB to come out of the Valley here this year. As long as he can play at the CIF level that we know he's capable of playing at.
I just want to say you got this from my list.
Maybe.
You definitely got this guy from my list now that I'm looking at it.
So for me, he's first-team All-CIF last year in the playoffs, was a guy that was basically the go-to not only from a DB standpoint but as well as from a wide receiver standpoint last year with all the injuries moving forward. Trevor Anderson from Xavier Prep was a kid that, Trevor's a guy that you can put anywhere on the field, and he's going to try to make plays for you. He's a playmaker. He loves to play football, loves the game, loves to be physical, loves to let you know how great he is, right? But it's just being able to hone in and take the coaching and take the technique and trust it. A lot of the times, young DBs, they don't trust their technique. They don't trust their footwork. They don't trust their eyes. They don't trust their hands and start to do things that they're not coached, and that's what ends up burning them. And so for Trevor, he's such a guy that it can be so much more physically better than the guy across from him, but doesn't trust his technique. But when he does trust it, is an all-CIF guy and can make plays on the football, is a huge playmaker, had 3 picks last year. And so I think he's going to definitely move up that list there in terms of interceptions and PBUs.
Oh, exactly. I mean, the only notes I have for him is ball hawk. Because I know after seeing a few games last year, that ball's in the air, he's going to go grab it if it's next to him. And I think he's in such a great position this year to succeed, not only on the field but off the field.
Absolutely.
Because he has such a great role model in his brother, Derek.
Sure.
And, Derek plays for the Coyotes. Derek did a little bit of college. And Derek's going the right path to go to D1. And
right.
it's going to be awesome. I think, and I told Derek, I said, dude, it'd be so sick if you and your brother go to the same school.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be amazing. I mean, dude, to just work off of each other, to just, push each other hard. I've heard when they go one-on-ones, it's a pretty even battle.
Oh, I tell Derek all the time, I will take, out of 10 tries, I'll take Trevor to I mean, you might get 3 on him, maybe. But that's how highly I think of Trevor Anderson, that he's able to cover a young man. I mean, his brother is 21, 22 years old. Like, he's able to cover him and shut him down.
Yep.
So for me, Trevor is a guy that you're definitely going to want to look out for from a DB spot this year.
Definitely. I think definitely. I mean, what'd you say? He had all CIF honors, right?
Yep, first team all CIF.
And I think he's just, like I said, he's in such a good position this year to succeed on the field that he's going to get picked up somewhere and he's going to make an impact no matter where he goes.
Yep.
He just has to make that decision of, what am I willing to sacrifice? Like, if I don't get that, which is all of these kids are going to have to make.
Sure.
If I don't get that big offer, do I hold out?
Right. Yeah, no.
That could kill your career.
And that's the tweener spot. That's tough because then you also don't want to make a hasty decision and choose too early, and then somebody comes late, and now dang it, nope, I've already committed and signed.
Exactly.
Right. So it's a tough spot being recruited, and especially when you don't have stuff imminent in your plans right away when you start, but you start picking them up late. Yeah, it's tough to not pull the trigger or to pull the trigger in those standpoints.
Exactly, and I look for him definitely signing in February.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely signing in February. I would not recommend an early signing for that one.
I agree, unless it's like SC, UCLA, something like that. Yeah, no, 100%.
All right, so that was our list.
You got any more DBs?
No, that's it for me.
I'm going to put one more. Yeah, I got one more guy that I want to look out for. A guy that's really going to have to step up and take control of that back end for Palm Desert, being that Jacob McElroy, who was the interceptions leader last year for the Palm Desert defense, is going to be Uriah Alvarado, a guy that played in most of the games last year, didn't have the flashiest of stats, couple picks, yeah, it's good, but now it's time to step up with the big boys because now you have both starting corners are going to be gone for Palm Desert this year in Jacob McElroy and Ben Cowan, shout out Ben Cowan, who just signed. I believe he's going to UNLV, I thought I just saw. So shout out to Ben Cowan for that. Big time big-time choice right there. But for Uriah, he's going to be a guy that they're going to have to go to and really trust that he's going to shut down some of these wide receivers in this league. It is not going to be easy, especially in that battle of Cook Street. There's 5-6 guys over at Xavier Prep that can go get 100 yards for you and 3 touchdowns, man. So you're going to have to be the guy that's going to try to shut down one side of the field or one opponent week in and week out.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the guys from Palm Desert have such a unique opportunity this year to shine, and that is with their game in Texas. I mean, those guys, they put up 3-4 good plays, great plays, maybe 1 or 2 great plays. Now they're getting looked at everywhere. I mean, so that's huge.
And they're playing against, I think Odessa Permian, shout out Odessa Permian, is 4A or 5A. So when you look at the way we do divisions here, right, Division 1 is the best, Division 14 is the worst. In Texas, it's flip-flopped. 6A or 5A is the best. 1A is the worst, right? So they're playing one of the best teams, not only in the state of Texas, but in the country.
Yeah, that film is going to be so valuable for those guys.
Yes, absolutely. And that's going to be something that they're going to have to not only play within the environment of being in Texas and playing an out-of-state team, they're going to be at a game where there's going to be minimum 20,000 people there probably.
That's what I was going to say.
It's going to be a ton. I wanted to say a higher number, but I didn't want to sound stupid. But it might be closer to 30, maybe 40. That they get up for that. That stadium is newly renovated. It seats a ton of people, and they shut down the entire city to go watch Odessa Permian football.
And I could already imagine those people just thinking, "Here comes the California team. Let's go watch it. Let's go see this. Let's go see what's going to happen."
Yep, the pretty boy California boys are going to come in and with their flash and swag and this, and we're going to just go try to run the football right down their throats. That's it. Is what it is. So let's recap our DBs here. Starting for me, I had from La Quinta, Justin Kersey Casillas. I had Jevin Dorsey from Rancho Mirage, Trevor Anderson from Xavier Prep, and Uriah Alvarado from Palm Desert.
I had Jesse Meza, Yucca Valley, Justin Kersey Casillas, La Quinta High School, Cesar Ledesma, Rancho Mirage, and Trevor Anderson, Xavier.
Nice.
That's a nice not linebacker. That's a nice defense that we got there, dude.
Yeah, the defense in general right there are a bunch of guys that are not only we do have here and there some guys that are returners that are going to give experience, but there's a lot of guys in both of our lists here that are huge playmakers and that guys can really shine and really take hold of what it means to play those positions and be the best at it in the Valley.
All right.
So we are going to go over the offense next, but we are going to take a quick break to let that marinate, let the defense marinate, and if you want to get into that, as well as it gives you a little block of time to, if you want to skip over to an offensive guy and see if you made the cut, this would be it. So we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, this is Clahs.
The Classic Club, home of the nationally recognized championship course designed by Arnold Palmer, creates a new spin on desert golf with rolling terrain, wide landing areas, and beautiful surprises around every corner. Bellatrix Restaurant and Bar at the Classic Club is the destination for good times and excellent food with Mediterranean, Asian, and French accents. We also feature traditional steaks, seafood, and an extensive wine list. All of this together is what makes the Classic Club the preferred destination for Valley residents and visitors.
And we are back in class. I am Michael Carls, brought to you by Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority. And I am here live at the beautiful Classic Club here. We're going over our Valley Ultimate teams. I'm here with super producer Scott Alvarez. We've both picked some squads here and players to look out for. We've gone through that vaunted defense that the Valley has to offer. A lot of big names on that list. And now we get to see the offensive guys, the guys that put up the points and the guys that light up that scoreboard, man. Exactly. And so we are going to start off. I want to start off with the big uglies up front, the offensive linemen. Don't have them in particular spots, but I did pick, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I got 5 guys to make up the offensive line here.
Yep.
So I am going to kick it off there. First and foremost, the guy that I think everybody knows about the most from Palm Springs is Julian Polendo, a big physical young man that plays is going to play offensive tackle. He would play offensive tackle for me. He'd be my left tackle. He'd be my anchor. Big kid, long arms, can get in a really good pass set and kicks really well with guys coming off the edge. I love the way he plays. I love his game. I haven't really, to be honest, I haven't been able to see him play up close and personal because every Xavier game he's actually been out, I believe injured or whatever the case is. So I haven't really seen Julian play face to face, but from the highlights I've seen, from the film, from the off season that he puts in, from the camps that he's gone to, the dude is just like another Jack Howard, man. He's a man amongst boys and is playing at a physical level and is a guy that can help anchor any offensive line, and we're going to be seeing him playing on Saturdays Division I football, no doubt about it.
So him being on that offensive line, how does that change? How does that help his team? Like having such a high caliber guy.
So for a guy like that, number one, you'll never have to really worry about him in terms of having to help him if there's a guy that he's going against that is just giving him fits. He's a guy that can definitely play one-on-one. When you're a left tackle out there in pass protection, it's mostly an island for you right there because you're kick stepping away and you're reading the guy coming off the edge and you really have to really push on him. So for a guy like that, you can almost put one of your not your worst lineman, but a lesser type guy next to him in terms of run game. Now, if you're running like an inside zone or an outside zone, you can help double and scoop and help get to the next level with a 2-on-1 matchup with Julian and then the weaker of the two guys there next to him. So you can do a lot of things. You can also, what we used to do at Palm Springs was if we had a guy that pulled a little better than the other, we would move him into that spot. So if it was a lineman that had to pull right to run left, we would put one guy there. If it was going left to right, we'd just flip-flop him, right? So he would always be the one that's pulling. Yes, teams can key on that, but I'd rather have a guy that can actually do it, be there, rather than teams worry about keying on it. Because it's one thing to, key on it and know it, and it's another thing to stop it.
Nice.
So for that is Julian, and I think he's downright one of the best linemen, not only in the Valley, but in Southern California as well. So you'll definitely be seeing him on Saturdays. Next on my list, a guy who actually was a running mate with Julian, was at Palm Springs last year, has transferred since. Lineman Elijah Sanchez is a big man, 6'4", 295. Will be huge for that Palm Desert now. Offensive line will help open up holes for their new running back, whoever it may be. So for Elijah, he's another D1 guy that I see that's going to be playing on Saturdays. He may be picked up late. He may be picked up soon in the process. But he is another guy that you can stick not only at left tackle, you can stick him at right, you can stick him at a guard spot. He's got good hips. He's quick off the ball. He stays low, good leverage, and is going to be a guy that is going to be an anchor for them, not only on the offensive line, but I could see him flipping over and playing some D-line as well.
I mean, you brought up a good point that he will definitely get an offer. I think if he shines in that Permian game, definitely going to get offers right after that.
Yeah,
that's such a high caliber game for these kids that if they choose to just make the best of it and make every rep count, dude, it's gonna be unstoppable with all those offers coming in.
And especially because it's so difficult, especially for high school guys to not look at everyone else and this guy's getting looked at like this and he has this many offers and he's this and he was that and went to this. Don't worry about that stuff. If anything, to me, that makes it even more special, right? That means, okay, I get to go against this guy who's got all of these. Let me just let everyone know that I'm still pretty good because I can dominate this young man in this football game. And if you put that on the film, not only is he going to get offers from schools that recruit out here, there are going to be other schools that look at that Odessa film that may be looking at one of those guys, and they say, well, who the heck is this guy from Palm Desert, California, and he's just dumping kids? Like, let me take a look here. So for Elijah, I don't know what his situation was and what made him or what led to him transferring from Palm Springs to Palm Desert. But I think it's a good situation for him as long as he doesn't have to sit out any of the allotted games that it requires if you move and you don't change your address. So if he can come in and play game one right away, that's going to be huge for him for this upcoming season.
Exactly.
Next, I have on the list a guy from Rancho Mirage, guy I don't know too much about, but I have been told some good things about him, is Jonathan Aguirre, a guy from Rancho Mirage that can play offensive tackle and guard, a guy that is moving around quite a bit, will be able to know the offense, has been in it for a couple of years now. Rancho Mirage is well known for their zone run scheme, for being able to pull the football with the quarterback as well as give it off to the running back there. So for a guy like Jonathan, he is going to be integral for them because not only are they're going to have a new starting quarterback this year. It's going to be probably the guy that they had come in for David Talley last year, a running type guy that's going to be a junior, is going to have a full year under his belt. But they're also going to have a new running back as well. So for them, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do offensively. But having a guy returning on that offensive line doesn't hurt them at all.
Nice. I love seeing Rancho Mirage on our list. I mean, like I said before, a lot of people are overlooking them, but I think this is going to be a magical year for them. I mean, they get that one DEL win, and it's going to change. It's going to change their entire scheme of things. It's going to change their mindset, and all these players are just going to start coming out of nowhere. I mean, dude, we're picking 1-2 kids from here. Who knows? After the end of the season, it could be 10 kids. All 10 kids like on the field are just playmakers.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's. Yeah, it's just getting off the schneid there, just getting that one, and yeah. I think that's when the floodgates start to open because, especially teams, they get so tight, like, oh, I gotta get it, and then you end up like not getting whatever it is that you're trying to, right? So if you just play relaxed, play loose, play within the scheme, play within yourselves, listen to your coaches, the wins will fall where they may.
Exactly.
Next on my list here, I have a guy that. I know a little bit, him being that he had a cousin that played over at Xavier Prep in Juan Lua, Daniel Lua, offensive lineman for Palm Desert. Probably kind of a shocker pick to some, but I think he's a good physical football player, and I think he's going to be playing more of an interior offensive line spot for Palm Desert. But when you have a guy like Elijah that you can set out on the edge there from a tackle spot, and then now you got a guy like Daniel that can solidify the middle portion of that offensive line, that's going to be huge. Senior, physical guy, is able to get after it, has great genetics with Oscar Lua, who's a Super Bowl champion and not only a USC grad as well. So I can see Daniel doing some things for that offensive line for Palm Desert and being able to open up some holes for their new running back this year.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, we have 5 spots for O-line, and 2 of them are taken up by Palm Desert kids. Mm-hmm. That they got something special cooking up this year, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Palm Desert, they're not in rebuilding mode because they still have yet to lose a DEL game, right? They're back-to-back DVL/DEL champs, gone to the playoffs, but are still looking to get over that hump to get into a CIF bid and win a CIF championship. Didn't do that back in the day with Blackburn, still haven't done it with McCombs. So I think that's what's going to be on their mind moving forward is, yeah, DEL titles are cool. Yeah, that's cool. You won the league. That's cool. Winning CIF is really cool.
And that's going to change, honestly, that's going to change their program. I mean, look what it did for you guys at Palm Springs.
Absolutely.
Did that change your program?
Yeah, 100%. We went from all of a sudden we used to be sponsored by Red L to having Nike stuff all over the place and having a new scoreboard and new this and new that all of a sudden, right? Like, so it changes the landscape for sure when you can say CIF champion rather than just league champion.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That hardware too, bro.
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
Hardware just changes.
I just can't seem to think. Oh God. what does my buddy think about all of this, right? So, but Palm Desert, I think one of their strengths this year is their front seven, and their offensive line is probably one of the best in the Valley for sure. And finally, the last guy on my list, a guy that we've already mentioned once before, a guy that, I mean, you can't say anything more about this young man other than he's been a two-way starter since a freshman. He's won first team on both sides of the ball since a freshman. The guy is just a complete force, and you can put him anywhere on the offensive line and defensive line. You can put him at wide receiver. You can put him at running back. You can put him at tight end. The dude can take snaps and throw the football. Like, he can play quarterback, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see him play every single position on the field one game next year, his senior year, and that's Jack Howard, man. I can't say anything more great about Jack Howard. He is pound for pound one of the best football players here in the Valley, and he's only a junior. So if you want to see what a true blue, awesome offensive lineman, defensive lineman, technically sound, physical, trusts in his football IQ, trusts what his coaches are telling him, Jack Howard is the guy that you need to come see, and I believe that you're going to see him solidify a spot on the offensive line for Xavier that has been weak since their inception into a football program at that school. The offensive line has been one of the biggest struggles, and being able to put him more on the interior spot is going to be a lot better than trying to have him out on the edge and almost kind of having teams like run away from him. Now I'm not saying it, and it's part of the game plan, I'm sure, and I would do it too if I had a guy and the other guy on the opposite side was a backup and was getting dumped on every single play. But there were a lot of times last year in that Xavier Prep Shadow Hills matchup where Jack Howard was playing left tackle and Jake Shipley was on the other side of the football dumping a kid that had to play because of injury. Yeah, you look good dumping that kid over there, but why didn't you want to try to set the edge against Jack Howard? Why were you running away from him? Why were coaches putting you on the other side of the ball?
He's going for that sack. He's going for that film, man.
Because Jack Howard is that good to be able to shut guys down no matter what. And I think Jack is a type of guy that wants everybody to know, hey, I may not have the prototypical Division I size, but I can play Division I football. One in an example, one of the Pac-12 schools that has come over to Xavier has told us, we would love to see Jack play some center maybe because we kind of see him translate at that center spot. He's got good feet, quick hips, he's quick, and we believe that just based off of his size right now, we can add some pounds to him to be able to be a very quality center in the Pac-12 on Saturdays. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he's a linebacker. Maybe he's something else. I have no idea. But being able to put him in so many different spots is what makes him so valuable, and that he can be a football player in a lot of different positions.
Nice. And, you kind of teased us. So as the OC of Xavier, can we get a promise that he's going to run the ball at least once this year? Can you make that promise? You said it. You said he can run the ball.
Man, dude. There was one point in time where we did have some stuff where he was taking snaps in the backfield and he was going to be running the football. Will it happen? You guys are going to have to figure it out. Yep, appreciate it. So for the 5 linemen for my ultimate team, and I think we were pretty much so close on this that we picked the same guys. Basically. So for our 5 here, we have Julian Polendo from Palm Springs, Jonathan Aguirre from Rancho Mirage, Daniel Lua from Palm Desert, Elijah Sanchez from Palm Desert, and Jack Howard from Xavier Prep, man. And that is a beefy, physical, smart offensive line there that can get the job done not only in the run game but in the pass game as well.
What do you want to do, receivers or running back? I only have one running back.
Let's go running back next. I like running back. Let's go running back next.
All right, I got one running back, and I chose Victor Hilario out of Indio.
Victor was on my list as well.
1,000 total yards rushing.
Yes.
He's a workhorse. 6 games. What do I have? 6 games. He had 10 rushing touchdowns. 10 rushing touchdowns.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So for a guy like Victor, for that Indio squad, Indio has always not had the greatest of talents to choose from for their football teams, but are a strong, physical football team that will get after it. And having a guy like Victor, who is a downhill runner, is perfect for their persona for that Indio squad. I love him in the backfield over there. He's a guy that's not going to be afraid of contact and is going to run through tackles and fall forward for extra yards for his football team. And being the bell cow this year for them, I believe that's going to be an excellent spot for him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
Who do you have?
So I had Victor on my list as well. The number one guy I'm going to be looking out for this year is Jason Roberts, Palm Springs running back. Going to be a senior, is going to be taking over as the main focal point in that run game. And just looking at some of his film, the way he moves, he's got quick twitch muscles going on. He can catch the football out of the backfield. He can stretch the field vertically. He can stretch it horizontally. And if you're not afraid, or if you're not careful, he'll run by everyone and take it 80 yards to the house. So Jason is going to be one of those guys. For Palm Springs in general, the running back spot is one of the more lucrative spots for that school in general. You know, when you talk about big-time running backs, you talk about A.J. Scott back in the day. You talk about my running back, Nephi Garcia, who pound for pound is one of the greatest football players to ever come out of the Valley. And then you talk about guys that have fit the mold differently with like Franklin Miller and Nick King and you know, all of those different guys that played the running back spot in Palm Springs. Jason Roberts wants to be one of those guys that is the focal point for that offense, and that the guy that they can rely on to go get 1,000 yards in a season and go get 10 to 15 touchdowns as well.
Dang.
Honorable mention as well, because he only played a few games at running back last year, but had a ton of yards from a wide receiver spot, is going to be a huge point for them now as well, now that Donnie will be out of the roster for them for the year, and they're going to have another guy in there, is Sebastian Camarino, who we talked to previously in the offseason this year. Big kid.
Oh, yeah,
and
humble dude, too.
Super humble. He's going to be a junior. And one of the things that everybody that we've talked to, any story that we've had about Sebastian is he's not going to go run down the sidelines and try to outrun anyone. He's literally going to seek out guys to go run them over.
Yeah, and I think he even mentioned that, like, I'm looking to just run people over. Like, I'm not looking to, go somewhere else. I'm not looking to, like, avoid the hit. I want to make you look stupid.
Right, and that may not be the greatest of choices to do on any given play, but when you got a guy that is not afraid of contact, he sets the tone for the team. And when you can be the hammer and not the nail as an offensive guy, everybody gets hyped up.
Major key
Hell
there.
Absolutely.
Be the hammer, not the nail.
Be the hammer, not the nail. Absolutely.
All right, wide receivers.
So for our running backs, let's recap.
Victor Hilario.
From Indio, right? And I had Jason Roberts from Palm Springs, as well as Sebastian Camarino from Coachella Valley.
Yep.
And those are our running backs here. So wide receivers. The wide receiver group, one of the most fun groups to talk about in this valley in general. There's a bunch of guys that can go get it, man. There's a bunch of guys. So let's go ahead. Start it off, Scott.
I'm going to start it off with a guy that we interviewed this year, and I think this is going to be a magical year for him, especially he needs to step up this year with Donnie out, and that's going to be Noah Adon out of CVHS. He's coming off a season-ending injury, and he, the biggest thing for him is he's going to have to battle to be that number one again. But I think, even if he is the number two, geez, they got two studs out there that are just going to be unstoppable if they get that quarterback situation going. And I'm not even going to get into quarterbacks. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So, so for a guy like Noah, for the run and shoot in general, right? We talk about number one receivers and number two receivers. For the guy that's also on my list as well, that we'll get to later, who led the league in touchdowns, Rafael Sanchez. He's their outside guy, right? He's their outside presence. He's the guy that we're going to go to when we need like a curl or a dig, or we need like a post route or something like that, something to stretch the field deep from the outsides. Now, Noah is a type of guy that's on the smaller side, is a perfect slot size to me, and is a guy that I've watched throughout this offseason learn and really own the seam read from the run and shoot standpoint. So he's a guy that can be a quote-unquote number one, but is going to do most of it from the slot. He's going to be running down the middle of the field. He's going to be in that underneath coverage, being able to open things up for everyone else around him. So, yes, I look to see him production-wise be a number one guy, but from the slot position and being able to stretch the field vertically from the inside and being able to run away and get good mismatches from linebackers and from safeties.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, for me, I went strictly off of production, and their whole receiving core to me is just all they do is produce.
They had 4 guys that were top 5 in receiving last year.
And I think Noah, he's hungry, man. He's hungry. We talked to him, and he's, you know, off camera, he's just like, I'm ready to get it. I'm ready to just destroy people on the field. I'm ready to make, you know, those DBs look dumb.
Yeah, and if you don't know much about Noah's story, this isn't his first school that he's been to, and he thought that at the previous school he was overlooked, man. And so this is his he's got the chip on his shoulder to prove to everyone that he can play with any and every of the best players in the Valley here for sure.
Definitely. Go ahead. Who's next?
So for me, I'm gonna jump right out of the gate. My number one, and he's the number one in the Valley out of anyone to me, no matter what, hands down. This guy, if and when he is healthy, no DB can stop him, and that's Xavier Prep Logan Pesco. Logan to me. So when I first got there, Logan was the kicker, right? And so he was a sophomore, and we didn't know much about Logan's ability. Yeah, he was a soccer player, and he scored a bunch of goals, and that's sick. But then we started to put him more at wide receivers, and he started to eat on DBs. And then JV, he was going up and making plays, not only offensively, but making plays on the ball defensively and going for pick sixes and doing all of those things. And then last year, during the offseason, was able to prove to people that he can go up against anyone and everyone in the Valley, right? And so for him, he was a big decision in for us to be able to put Fabrice Voyne in the backfield as a running back and being able to trust that Logan was going to be our number one wide receiver on the outside there. And so for this year, hands down, the amount of work that he's put in the offseason to help put some more weight on himself, it doesn't matter what school, it doesn't matter what DB. I can bring Logan Pesco to Palm Springs. I can bring him to La Quinta. I can bring him to San Diego. I can bring him to Orange County. I can bring him to Mater Dei. I can bring him to Florida, Texas. It doesn't matter. I can go put him out there, and on the 10-yard line, I can go throw him a fade ball, and 9 out of 10 times, he's going to be the one that comes down with it.
Well, exactly. I had him on my list as well. And, you know, for me, what caught me was the stats, man. And I'm just looking at the stats, and I'm seeing, okay, he kind of started off the season a little slow, but as he started to buy into the system and started to trust that the coach is going to put him in the right spot and the coach is going to tell you what route to run against this defense, because, you know, it's not like you just watch the film one time.
Right.
No, you know this playbook like the back of your hand. You watch the film. How many times would you say? Like maybe 6-7 hours throughout the week?
Oh, I mean,
more.
Well, so when me and Coach Dockery, shout out Coach Doc, head coach of Xavier Prep, huddle will it times you how much you watch the film.
Oh yeah.
And me and him are always competing. I mean, to shoot 10-12 hours of film.
That's nuts. And you know, for me, yeah, he had the slow start, but he's picking it up. And I think finally this year he's finally, bought into the system. How was he in the off season with 7 on?
Dude, I get so giddy talking about freaking Logan because he's like, the attitude of the young man. He really took ownership of, I'm a senior this year. I'm a leader that everyone looks to. And when the game is on the line and we need a big-time play or a big-time catch, Logan is not afraid. Coach, throw me the ball. I'm going to be open on this play. I'm going to get this. What route you want, man? Dude, it doesn't matter. Just you pick the play, and I'm going to run it. And the guy pulling the triggers back there, and Brad McClure trusts him so much. There was a span when we went to northern Arizona for a camp this year. We played in one weekend. We had I think we played in 4 or 5 or 6 games, something like that. He had 8 touchdowns. All right, so
wow.
that just lets you know not only how big of a presence he is, but everybody else knows he's getting the ball, and he still is able to catch those passes, man, and it's unbelievable.
That's nuts.
And Logan is going to, not only is he a guy that can go up and get fade balls, he's a guy that can run the 10-yard out. He can run the 12-yard curl. He can run across the middle on post. He can settle and find the window on digs. Like, he is such a savvy football player, and his physicality in terms of athleticism is so high that it would be silly not to take a fly on this kid, whether I'm a Division I AA or maybe a small Division I school, just because of his just because of the injury's sake. That's one thing I think he needs to work on the most is, are you durable? Can we rely on you all throughout the year to make plays? Can you go get 1,000 yards for me this year? Can you go get 50 catches? Can you go get 13 touchdowns, right? So for Logan, it's the production is there. He can do it. He has all these tools. It's just best ability is availability, right? So you got to be available 100% of the time for your squad to make plays.
Exactly. And what sold me on him was the fact that he walked away from Palm Springs. Now, these are combined Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, and Palm Desert with 11 catches for 241 yards.
Not to mention the game winner for both.
241 yards for 11 catches.
Yep.
That's 21 yards a catch.
Yep.
That's insane. Like, that's how do you do that? How do you set him up for that?
Yeah, it's the great chemistry that him and Brad McClure have together. There were almost times where he would run, and it's part of the run and shoot. You know, part of that is, you know, being able to make post-snap decisions. And, yeah, sure, you may be running a post in cover 2, but if that safety is flat-footed, I'm going to take the top off. Or if he's playing deep, I'm going to just run a dig right in front of him. And he did that time in and time out. And
so it's him knowing where to run.
Correct, and both of them being on the same page there. That's why I love him as a football player, because he is so savvy and he asks the right questions. That's what's huge to me. He will ask the right questions and doesn't just want to hear himself talk.
And I think for me, like, a spoiler alert, everyone on my list is a run and shoot person, only because of the fact that those receivers have to be smart. Those receivers, like he just said, have to make those decisions on the fly. What is the safety doing? What is my guy doing? Am I in man? Is he pressed? Is he off? That's a lot of stuff to go through your head.
Right.
And then the snap goes, you know, and then now you're in that like perfect position to just be successful.
100%.
That's spoiler alert, all my guys are running the run and shoot.
100%. All of mine are except for one, so, you know. Go ahead and your next person. So
next.
So far we've gone through, and I had Noah on my list as well, and you had Logan on your list as well. So I only have 2 more guys.
Yeah, I have 2 guys.
Okay.
I'm going to go with I'm going to save my best for last.
Okay.
You'll probably throw it on the
I'll save him too.
Okay. I got Sebastian. Sebastian is definitely going to be a good guy this year.
Camarino.
Camarino. Mm-hmm. From CVHS. He's an impact player, and he's consistent. And the battle against LQ, he came away with 7 grabs for 114 yards and a touchdown. You might think, okay, well, that's okay. 7 catches is not that big of a deal. But that is, considering he had his second string quarterback in there.
Correct.
And what does that do? This opens up the run, or it opens up the pass for other people. He's such a key player and a consistent player on the field that, okay, if I can't go to my number 1, I can go to Sebastian because I know he's going to grab that ball. And like we said earlier, he's not going to, you know, I need to go out of bounds because I don't want to get hit. No, he's going to run whoever over and get those, yaks?
Yes, 100%. And for a guy like Sebastian, now I had him at a running back spot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to be an integral part in the receiving game. For Sebastian, not only is he going to be able to run the football, but he is also going to be a guy that's like an Alvin Kamara type or like a Christian McCaffrey type, a guy that can catch the football out of the backfield off of screens, swings, checkdowns, even just in an empty set formation, being that 5th wide receiver out there. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I can see him not only being able to, I can see him easily eclipsing 1,000 yards, 1,500 total between running and receiving. I could see that no problem with about 15 touchdowns, maybe. They're gonna put points up. And you talked about their backup quarterback last year for playing against La Quinta. It's gonna be he's gonna be the same guy that's gonna be calling the plays this year with Donnie being out. So he does have game experience, some big-time game experience.
That was big.
That was a
huge.
big win against La Quinta right there. And so being able to prove your worth and being able to have a chemistry with a guy that's going to be integral to that offense is going to be huge. And I can definitely see Sebastian making some noise in that receiving area of the football.
Definitely. And, I think the biggest aspect for him is the same thing with the run and shoot. These guys have to be smart off the ball. They have to know what is going on in the defense that I have to already think about. Dude, these guys have to be quick in their mindset before that snap. Now he's running into space. He's running into open. Or, okay, you know what? The play is really for the guy next to me. I'm going to suck this guy in so he can get open.
Absolutely.
And then not only that, but I can't wait to see him off the pass block. I can't wait to see him off, a screen pass. I can't wait to see him off a wheel route, dude.
Yep.
These are huge because if this guy can already play wide receiver, there's no worry about, this running back has no hands.
Right.
Dude, that running back is probably going to find space against you, and now he's that fifth receiver.
Right. No, yeah.
Every single time.
100%. Yeah, it's a safe bet to pick against, not against. It's a safe bet to pick CV skill guys and get the production out of them that you believe that you're going to get. And I know Coach Davis is going to put these guys in positions to win, regardless of who the signal caller is.
And for him especially, think about this. Think about a play action. Now everyone's sucked in. Now he's already up. He just moves over. Now you can just throw it to him. Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's going to be a huge threat because you have to respect the run with him.
Right.
And you have to respect that run.
And the physicality standpoint of him is, I don't see the first guy ever tackling him. It's going to take 2 or 3, right?
That's true.
So
that's true.
He could take a 2-yard pass, a 2-yard completion, maybe even a minus completion, and take it for 11-12, and now we're just moving the chains.
Yeah, and he's only going to get bigger. That's the scary part.
Right, he's only a junior.
That's the scary part is he's only going to get bigger.
Exactly. So the next guy on my list here, I got a Palm Desert guy on here because, they've won league. They need a big-time wide receiver over there for them to stay balanced and win some games. And the returning guy for me that I think is going to be huge for them is Simon Gaete, a guy that is now their leading receiver returning, a guy that, for a Palm Desert offense, they don't rely heavily on the pass. They don't rely on the quarterback to win football games for them. They are going to have a new starter this year with Carter Stokes being out. So a guy that has experience on that offensive side of the ball for that receiving core is going to be huge confidence booster for the quarterback, whoever it may be. Whispers to me are that it's going to be Garrett Hayden, guy that played a couple of games in the playoffs when Carter Stokes was hurt, basketball guy as well. So tall kid that can sling the rock a little bit. So for him to have a guy like Gaete, they're going to ask him to make a lot of third and long catches, some big-time catches, some possession catches, not necessarily go get me a post for 80 and a score, right? But, let's keep the chains moving. Let's keep catching the football. No drops, if the ball's coming your way, you better go get it. And I think he's a guy that's going to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, and I think riding, piggybacking on your whole offensive line list, it's having 2 guys on your O-line list is going to make that O-line huge. That our ultimate list, we're looking at everybody in their play style. Having 2 guys that we think are, elite players is huge for them because it's going to lift everybody up. I got to play to this guy's level.
Sure.
I got to play to this guy's level because, you know what, everyone's going to depend on me next year or stuff like that. What is that going to do? Their O-line, I think, is going to be solid, bro. Yeah. And it's going to be – he's going to have a nice pocket, and these receivers are going to be ready, and these receivers, especially him, they're going to be productive this year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree, and I think – well, in order for them to stay at the high level that they're playing at, they're going to need production from him. They're going to need production because, we barely glazed over it, but we talked about defensively, they have a lot of guys missing. They're losing their starting quarterback. They're losing their leading receiver. They're losing a couple of guys off of the offensive line. And, they're losing their all-time leading rusher in school history. So, and I think we looked at it. Garrett is their leading rusher. Garrett Hayden, the quarterback, is their leading rusher, and I think he had 40-something yards rushing last year. Right? The next closest guy is a wide receiver, and he had 4. Okay, so for them, they're going to have to really definitely find a new running back to not only hand the ball off to and be productive in that point, but they're also going to have to try to find production somewhere else, and that possibly could be with Simon in that passing game.
Exactly, and I think Simon's going to have a great year. I think, like I said, the O-line's going to be huge. The quarterback, he's going to trust the system. You got to trust the coach. You got to trust he knows what he's doing, put you in the most successful position. And I think, Simon's going to have a great year this year.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
All right, so my last guy, Rafael Sanchez. Do you have him on your list too?
That's my last guy as well, yep.
So CVHS, Coachella Valley High School, Rafael Sanchez. What caught my eye, 3 games, 100 yards plus. 936 total yards, 52 receptions, 18 touchdowns. With Noah out, he became the go-to, I believe, right? Or was he already the go-to? I have this in my notes. I said he was the go-to, and he's going to keep this place as the go-to. He's going to be the number 1 this year, and that's just going to open up so much more opportunities for that receiving core. But for him, oh, man. I mean, once you get that confidence and you get that swagger that you are the best guy on that field, I mean, there's no turning it off, is there?
No, absolutely. And one of the things, so for Rafael, who was just barely in terms of touchdowns underneath, their number 1 last year was Angelo. Angelo Fitzgerald was their number 1 wide receiver last year. And I think a lot of Rafael's success had a lot to do with that, being that Angelo had 1,200 yards, 19 touchdowns in just 9 games, right? So for Rafael to have 936 and 18 touchdowns, I think he was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people that he was able to be that productive from the Z spot, right? So just looking at it from the run and shoot standpoint, from a receiver standpoint, I saw Angelo as an outside X number 1 guy, or Rafael as the X and Z. They were both interchangeable outside guys. Then you had Sebastian and Noah running down the slots and running in the middle of the field there, right? So for Rafael, now he's, like you said, he's going to have to be that number 1 guy. Teams are going to now game plan for him. He's not going to be the other receiver next to Angelo. He's not going to be the other guy next to Sebastian. He's not going to be the other guy next to Noah. He's going to be the guy. And I think having a quarterback not named Donnie back there, he's going to rely on Rafael a lot. And I think Rafael is going to be the type of kid that is going to be able to shine in those moments for sure.
Exactly. So as a receiver, and you have, like, I don't want to say a new quarterback, but you kind of do have a new quarterback coming in. What do you have to do as a receiver to get him ready, to get your quarterback ready, to get that confidence in him?
Right. I mean, one of the biggest things is, especially for a wide receiver, is when you got a guy that you're not normally used to, right, and you're, man, I wish I had so-and-so. We went through it last year with the Coyotes. How many times would receivers say, man, Mike, I wish you were out there on the field, or like, man, I wish he threw it the way you did. That's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with anything right now. So you got to win with the guy that you have. Yeah. Number 1, you got to trust him. You got to trust that he's going to be able to make those plays for you. Number 2, don't get on him early and don't get on him often in terms of if it was a bad throw. Come on, man. Like, I'm open. Like, you better hit me. Like, don't add that added pressure to him. When it's a bad throw and you still make a catch, don't tell him, it could have been better. I made the play, but it could have been better. Always pump him up. Boost his morale. Let him know. He knows he made a bad play,
exactly.
But if you still make the catch, just be like, it's all good, man. I got you. I'll make this play. Don't worry about it. Just get it near me, and I'll make the play, right? So it's always just being positive feedback for him. Yes, the quarterback knows he made a bad play. Yes, the coach knows he made a bad play. Don't pile on by telling him that he made a bad play as well, Now, that's kind of like a catch-22 because if I'm a quarterback and I got a guy that I need to make plays for me, I'm going to get on him. But when you got a guy that's stepping into a role as the quarterback for a guy that is your superstar, he's your team. When you think of Coachella Valley, I don't care who you think about Donnie Fitzgerald, right? That's a lot of pressure for a young man to go through, whether he's older or younger than that guy, right? So don't add to the pressure. Don't add any fuel to the fire. Let's try to put it out, and let's try to make it easier and make this game simple for the quarterback.
Exactly. So I think, honestly, after this year, he will get offers. This guy, everybody on our receiving core, I think, will definitely get looked at. The juniors, definitely going to get looked at. Senior, he's a senior, right?
Yes, Raphael.
So Raphael's a senior. Definitely going to get an offer, and I hope he goes big, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like we said, and coaches, they know this coming in when they say, well, what do you run? Well, we run the run and shoot. Like, I hate having to repeat myself because I don't want this to just be like, oh, he's just saying the same thing over and over.
Right.
But those receivers have to be smart. Like, there's so much. It's not just, hey, run 12 and then come back 4.
Right, exactly.
No, it's run 12 and then read what's going on and adjust to what the heck just happened.
Right.
And you and your quarterback are on the same page. It's just crazy.
Right. Is it pre-snap the center of the field is going to be closed by a single high safety. Oh, post-snap it changed, so it's going to be too high. Okay, now I have to be able to do this. Oh, can I get over the top? No, I got to settle down. Oh, he's flat-footed, so let me just take the top off of it.
Exactly.
All of that has to happen while you're running your route.
And that's what, 8 seconds? 8 seconds?
Not even.
5 seconds?
Not even. Like 2, 3 at the most, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I see big things for him. It's going to be huge. He's going to have a great year. Whoever's back there.
Right.
I mean, I think because you're going to go into training camp with him. It's not like, it's happening like with us. It happened in the beginning of the season where
it happened
we
game
really
one.
didn't we didn't really like give our backups that much.
Didn't prepare for something like that.
Yeah, and I think, they're in a good position to be successful, that whole receiving core, especially Raphael. And I think, like I said, like I've been saying, having a guy that plays at that caliber just makes you want to play at that caliber. Not only that, but having a guy that plays at that caliber, now teams have to adjust for him, like you said. So what does that do? That now opens up the rest of the field. That now opens up everybody else. So coaches are going to have to make that decision. Okay, wait a second. This is their star, yet these guys on the other side, this Noah guy, the Sebastian guy, are making big plays too. Now what do I do?
Right. I totally agree with that too.
So
the receiving core in general, the ones that we picked, I have a feeling that there's going to be a couple that are going to pop up and make some noise that we may not have known about. There's one in particular. I hate Xavier Prep, man. We got some skill guys over there, dude. We got some skill guys, and there's going to be a newcomer. Just like how I was talking about Marcus Eason from Rancho Mirage. Not many guys are going to know about him, but will know about him at the end of the year. Same thing for Xavier Prep. They got a guy that junior transfer out of the Temecula area, Colin Maher, who this offseason came in and just was a consummate professional, was working constantly with his quarterback, built great chemistry, and the proof was in the pudding during 7-on-7 and during those camps because the guy was always open and was making plays. Yeah, he was nervous to start because it was his first team and had a couple of tough drops, but then was able to come back and blow the top off of people and make the tough catches down the middle of the field and go up and take hits and take shots. So I would be on the lookout for Colin Maher for sure.
Nice. All right, so to recap mine, I had Noah Adon, Coachella Valley High School, Logan Pesco, Xavier, Rafael Sanchez, Coachella Valley High School, and Sebastian Camarena, Coachella Valley High School.
And for me, I had Logan Pesco as well from Xavier, Rafael Sanchez, Coachella Valley, Simon Gaete from Palm Desert, and Noah Adon from CV with a little keep your peepers open for some Colin Maher later down in the road. Yes, sir.
Keep your peepers open.
There
we
like
go.
That, huh?
Love it. All right, here we go. You're probably your favorite right here.
Dude,
I only see 2 guys on your list. I have 3.
The creme de la creme. I have another guy that I'm going to talk about as well.
Do you want to go over those 2, and then we can go over the 2 that we both have? Or what do you want to do?
Well, so let's. I'm gonna start with a guy with with my backup, basically, because I already know this guy is going to be – I mean, what more can we say about Donnie Fitzgerald?
Yeah, honestly,
Donnie would be our – he's hands down one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the Valley but also in Southern California and possibly the nation. He's one of the best guys out there, can sling the rock, knows what he's doing with it, can extend the plays, can throw on the run, can read defenses. It's unbelievable the things that Donnie has done, and that was only his first full year starting on the varsity level, and he broke those all kinds of records. So for Donnie, rehab that knee, man. You got to have that back. You got to have that right. You can't use that as a crutch when it comes to push comes to shove next year, because I still think that based on his mental ability and his ability with his arm, that he's still going to be one of the best, if not the best, to come out of the Valley. So for Donnie, for sure, would be a top on all of our list there.
Even with what he's going through, I even had him on my list because it was just ridiculous. I mean, you don't go 4,100 yards total passing and not get looked at.
And 50-plus touchdowns. And
3 games over 500.
What's funny is they had Donnie, they talked to him about how he kind of thought about possibly foregoing surgery this year so he could play and then get it in the offseason. I would still take a torn ACL Donnie Fitzgerald over a lot of guys, So for Donnie, he would be a top of our list. But just to make it a little more interesting, I do have a couple of other guys as well that I would like to go over.
Okay. Do you want to go over him right now, or do you want to go over?
No, he's going to be my last.
Okay, he'll be your last.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a kid who I looked at the stats, and I said, this just popped out to me, and it is Braden Brimhall.
Ooh,
from
Braden
Yucca
Brimhall.
Valley High School.
We know little Brimhall. He played some baseball. Shout out Braden Brimhall. Played baseball. We were at that Indio game when he was there for sure.
I knew that name looked familiar.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
We go. Okay,
see?
So dude, dual athlete right there.
Yep.
Okay, what caught my eye? 5 games over 200 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, and he had. Donnie has the highest from anybody. This kid had the second most, which was 2,200 yards.
Yep.
Right behind him,
Yep. right behind him. Yeah, 2,000 yards short.
2,200 yards. I mean, that's amazing in high school.
No,
man.
yeah, it's tough, especially with a 10-game schedule, man, and especially how many times these teams want to run the ball.
Yes, exactly. And I think he's going to be a kid to look at this year. For football, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I believe it's.
And I think they don't I don't think they get enough love out there.
And with a new head coach over there at Yucca Valley, it must be very nice to be able to come into a situation where you got a senior quarterback to be able to lead your offense and be able to put your team in positions to win game in and game out.
Now, to build up on leadership, as a new coach comes in. What does Brimhall have to do to just get his team behind the new coach, to get his team up to that level?
He needs to buy in. He needs to be one of the first guys to buy into what the coach wants. One of the big things, especially from a high school standpoint, is, and it happens all the time, even in college too. When you got a new guy that comes in, all the other players on the team want to know what the leaders think about, what the captains think about, what the playmakers think about this guy. So for him, he needs to, in order for that program to be successful this year, he needs to say good things about his coach to his players, not put him down, not, he does this when we used to do that. It's not the same. He's really, you know what I mean? Not have all of those, we used to do it this way. No, not anymore. Like, this is the way it's going to be now, so you either need to get with it or get out. And for you to be successful for your senior year as a quarterback, I don't care if the coach wants you to play tiddlywinks. You tell the rest of your players, hey, we're playing tiddlywinks because this is going to help us win.
Exactly. So Braden Hall just has to, to be a better leader. I think I'm not saying that he's not a good leader, but
100%.
To definitely get his team on par, to make sure they don't struggle with the new coach. He's got to be the guy to step up and say, hey, believe in what we're doing, believe what the coach says, buy into the system. I've bought into the system. And, he could have another successful year with, 2,200 yards passing. That's ridiculous, man.
For sure.
And 5 games over 200.
Right.
5 games over 200. That's big.
No, yeah.
That's big for Yucca Valley.
No, yeah, absolutely. And now with, Donnie kind of being out, he can kind of be a guy that maybe possibly thinks he can go blow for blow with everyone in his league and possibly put his team in a position to win league.
I think, for the DVL, Brimhall and Yucca Valley, they're going to be they can make or break your season.
Yeah, it'll be almost like a dark horse or a spoiler.
They are going to be the spoiler to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I have one guy that's going to be my starter for my ultimate team, but the guy that I would choose as my backup at the moment, a guy kind of overlooked, and this goes back to what their identity is going to be offensively, and it's Christian Edgson from La Quinta, a dual guy, predominantly a great runner, not the greatest passing stats in the entire world, not good ones at all, let's just be real about it, but for a guy that had to do so many different things, especially just when I think about the Xavier La Quinta game last year at the end of the year, there was one drive where the offense came out in a 4 wide receiver spread shotgun set, and then 2 series later, they're in 3 tight ends, 2 fullbacks, a running back. It's 10 guys on the line of scrimmage, and we're just going to turn the ball and hand it off. Oh, and by the way, the quarterback has to go lead block too. What are we talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So know your personnel, know what type of guy you got back there. Dude, if I got a runner, I'm going to let him make some decisions in terms of what to do with the football. Give him some reads. Give him some RPOs. Give him some stuff that's easy to look at, easy to think about. A guy that's not really experienced at the quarterback position cannot read full field reads, cannot maybe even make half field reads, cannot even make 1 to 2 high-low reads, right? So make stuff easy for him. Make it easy for him. Tell him where he needs to throw, or tell him what he should be looking for, or what is going to happen here and there. But a guy like that, I'm sorry, I can't put him under center, and I can't put 3 guys in the backfield and tell him to go lead on lead sweep to the right side. I can't do it. But I do think that he is going to be a guy that can really take over games and is really going to win some games for his team. Possibly might lose some just by inexperience and just by doing some things that may not be orthodox, but I do believe that he is going to help put La Quinta back up where they should be. And to me, not to shout out any of the other lists, you'll probably see him on that Elite 11 list. Do I think he's worthy of it right now? No, but I do believe that he has that type of ceiling where he can be one of the best in the Valley.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking about a kid who last year didn't have the greatest stats, but then again, you got to remember you have a new coach, and that kid just has to buy into the system. Offensive productivity, I think, is going to be huge this year for him because now he's had a whole spring, summer. They're doing all different sorts of workouts. I know kids don't just do 7-on-7 with the schools anymore, right?
Correct.
They do 7-on-7 everywhere else. So, I hope he's got his legs under him. I hope he's got his mind right, and he's going to come into camp freaking on fire, man. I can't wait to get with them and see what he has to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively over there. I'm excited to see what La Quinta does, especially with a guy with 1 year under his belt at the quarterback spot.
Exactly.
So you have any more? That was your one guy, and then you had Donnie, and then so our both respectively our last guys.
Or do you want to go with the dark horse?
No. Because there's another one I wanted to point out as well. So my number one going into this year, I mean, all bets are off. The kid works day in and day out. He's gotten better and better since the day he started playing the quarterback position, and I think this is going to be his full blossom of the culmination of work is finally going to pay off for this young man, and I think being that he wasn't heavily recruited but has he has NFL size already. I'm not talking about college size. He has NFL size already. So for a guy like that to slip through the cracks, some of these D1 teams are not going to get the guys that they want, and they're going to be scrambling late, and he is going to be a diamond in the rough that I think any team
regardless of whether he plays a snap or not, would love to have in your program because he is a first in, last one out type guy and is always going to put in the work. And we're talking about a quarterback from Xavier Prep, Brad McClure. Just some of Brad's stats. Led the DEL in yards with 1,900 yards, almost 2,000 yards, about 26 yards short there. Had 14 touchdowns, had 17 total on the year. But that doesn't – the stats aren't – stats are stats, but they're not indicative to how the quality of stats were. And I say this by saying going into a hostile environment in Palm Springs and 3rd and 20 with 20 seconds left in the first half, throws a touchdown pass to Logan Pesco that ultimately wins the game. A game-winning drive at home against Rancho Mirage to win that game with about a minute and something change left, right? That's another one right there. Going into La Quinta, last game of the year, you're on the minus like 18-yard line with 2 and some change left, and goes boop, 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 boop down the field, not only for his first 300-yard game of his career, but puts his team in the playoffs for the first time in school history and beats La Quinta for the first time in school history, right? Then goes into his first playoff game against a tough Banning opponent that can put up points with an Oregon State commit playing quarterback across from you, and you go for 250 with 4 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, right? So goes into another game in Nogales, goes to Nogales, has one of probably one of his worst statistic games that he's had in a long time, but was still able to overcome that with 2 touchdowns and puts his team in the Final Four for the semifinals. What more does and that's what it's so frustrating, like what more does Brad McClure have to do for people to take notice of what he's doing and all of the things that he does? He is one of the most polished, well-coached quarterbacks that the Valley has ever seen, and it's not just from me, it's from him going out and going to these camps, going to seek out other people to get help, taking all of the advice that they give him, and he works on it. One of the things that, it struggles. The struggle is so tough because, he sees all these guys that get offers and that get looks and is doing things differently, but it's not coming to fruition yet. And I think and it's tough for a guy like that does all the right things, that is there day in and day out and is working every single day and is getting his guys together to throw and is the total pro, the total leader for your team, the guy that you want to be your signal caller, and is just so frustrated because he's not getting the type of offers that he wishes he should have yet. He's the perfect example. Brad, you're 6'6", 220 pounds, man. You have the size already. Be patient. If you have the stats that go along with it, right? Just like our stats for the Coyotes, we want to average 300 yards. We want a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. We want around 30 touchdowns for 10 games, right? Like, that's pretty good. I believe if he can attain those stats and make some noise with his teams by winning some games and getting into a CIF run, I think that the skies are the limit for him for a Division I school to offer him.
And I think, what caught my eye with him was obviously the 4 games over 200. So I think personally, you make some great points, and I think what he has to do to just get that eye of the recruiter is going to be up those passing yards, man, up those yards per game. Yep. He's got to have at least 2 300-yard games or more 250 in the 300-yard games. Yep. Now, that's hard to do with the level of competition that he's going up against.
Right.
But I think with Logan Pesco and a few others out there on Xavier who will step up, he's going to have that ability this year. He's going to be successful. But until that happens, he's just got to be patient, like you said. And I think, honestly, for him, being patient, and not only that, but when coaches come to finally see him, they're going to see what we saw, or at least what I saw, because you've known this for a while. His whiteboard is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Ridiculous as in, okay, here you go. Okay, well, this is my number 1. This is like, you could see that in our interview. That was huge. That was big, that he's a whiteboard guy that tells you as a coach, if I give him a scheme, this kid's going to learn it like the back of his hand. This
Right.
kid's going to take it. This is his Bible now. You know,
Right.
this is his. He's just going to, like, eat, live, breathe, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Just this playbook.
Right.
And if I have any questions, or if he has any questions, he's going to come and get clarity. You know, I need to clarify this. I need, you know, what is this? What are we doing here? And later on, he's going to teach your other guys that, and he's going to know it. Like, I think that's the biggest thing for him, is the fact that he's going to know that playbook, whatever you give him, whatever scheme. Because like we said, again, the run and shoot is hard.
Yes,
It's
it is.
hard to do. It's hard to learn. It's hard to do because there's so much stuff going on.
Right.
We talked in a receiver sense, right? But on the quarterback sense, like even for Donnie, you have to know, okay, right side's doing this, left side's doing this, inside's doing this, running back, okay, let's go. And what, 3 seconds?
Right.
3 seconds, you got to get that ball out.
Yep. And
So-
and has to trust, like, what he sees is the same thing that his receiver's going to see, and trust that they're on the same page and be able to throw that ball not only accurately but on time.
Exactly, and I think, you know, you brought up a good point when you said, you know, one of his worst games statistically, we still won.
Right.
I think that's what recruiters are looking at, are just stats and saying, well, you know, for his size, he's not really throwing. But dude, he won some big games this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's not overlook that. I mean, Palm Springs was a huge win for you.
Yeah,
You still
absolutely.
haven't lost on that field.
Mm-hmm.
La Quinta was a good game for you guys.
Yep.
I'm trying to think, dude. Those freaking CIF wins were
Yep.
huge for you guys. Not only that, but you guys played some private schools that came in, and he never gave up.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Those are, you know, you're playing high caliber teams with a great defense. You know, a young offense, whatever you guys had going on for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people are getting lost. I think that's why he's not getting those offers like, you know, everybody else, is because they're seeing those stats and they're saying, okay, he's not even averaging this much, but another kid in the same valley is averaging this.
Right.
But they don't understand that other kid in the other valley is playing a totally different set of schools.
Right.
You know?
No, absolutely. And I mean, I could go on and on about about how
Yeah,
great
I mean-
Brad is, but like, not to mention, I mean, he's a dual sport athlete, played basketball.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, has a 4.2 GPA.
There you go.
What else?
You know.
I don't understand. What else more do you want from a football player who is a 3-year starter, who is getting better and better every single day, who is in the weight room in the offseason more than anyone else, and is a 4.2 GPA student, and everyone loves him? I don't understand what recruiters look at sometimes.
I
man.
think
really don't.
this year, like you said, you got to be patient. I think this year, like I said, with Pesco on, and with who else you got in receiving core?
Dude, Logan Pesco, you got Trevor Anderson.
Yep, Trevor.
You
There
have
you go.
Colin Maher that's going to be coming back. You have Kai Killebrew that's going to be coming back. You got a ton of guys. There's 6, 7, 8 guys that would start everywhere else in the Valley that he has to choose from.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, last year, you know, installing this, were you still kind of having trouble with him at all, or like when did it finally click for him?
Well, so I think one of the most difficult things in terms of for the quarterback position for him, right? So he's not a guy that's going to go run and make plays with his
Yeah.
legs, right? So he has to facilitate the ball to everyone else. Not only did all the other guys have to grow up too, but he also had to make sure that the guy behind him, who is already at Army right now and is already competing for a job over there, like as your starting running back for Brees Voyne,
That's nuts.
you have to make sure that he gets his touches as well, right?
Yep.
So for him now, I think he can play more freely, knowing that I don't need to worry about certain guys getting touches. I just need to make the right play and get the ball in everybody's hands, because there's so many guys on that team that can make plays for him that it doesn't matter what the name is. It's just they're just going to catch it and go make that play.
Yep. Yeah, and it's crazy, you know, how much talent we have here in the Valley. It just gets overlooked. I mean, obviously Brad is a huge one that's getting overlooked right now, but you know, hopefully that changes. That's what we're here for. We're here to change that. We're here to change the culture. We're here to change the recruiting. You know, Coachella Valley is not to be overlooked anymore.
Yeah.
Look at Jake Shipley. Look at that big offer. That's a huge offer
Yeah,
for this
and he's
Valley.
a top 100 recruit in
Yep.
California, man.
Yep.
That's no joke.
Yep, exactly. And I
No
think,
joke.
you know, like you said, like I've been saying, I think Brad is going to have a great year this year. You got that receiving core that's delicious. I'll just call it what it is.
Yeah, it's
gonna be-
delicious.
It's going to be great. It's going to be like,
I tell him every day, dude, I'd be foaming at the mouth if I had these guys.
right,
Mm-hmm.
with this playbook, you know, it's just, he's going to have a great year this year. That would be, honestly, he was a little run for the money for me for my number one. but I wanted to go with someone a little less unknown. Like give some love
Yeah,
to
sure.
Yucca
No,
Valley.
yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but definitely, all our quarterbacks on our list are huge. They're going to go somewhere. They all have that opportunity. I don't want to say they're going to go somewhere.
Well,
they all have the opportunity. Just got to keep your grades straight. Just got to keep your, stay healthy, stay mentally right. Don't bring attitude to the football field. Leave everything at home. Leave whatever problems you have at home. Leave whatever's going through your mind. Leave girl problems.
Right.
Girl problems at home.
Right.
Check all that at the door, man.
Yeah, for sure. And the way football is going these days, it's a quarterback-driven sport now, man.
Yep.
Like, if you got a guy back there that can do a lot of things for you and facilitate the football and get it to his guys and be able to manage the game from that position, you are going to win a lot of games rather than a team that has to struggle and put in a new guy, or they still are trying to see what kind of guy they got, or this, that, and the other, right? So he's a guy that has seen everything, and now it's just going to be a culmination of putting that all together and having a successful year.
Exactly.
And I think in order for Xavier to be successful, it's going to be on the shoulders of Brad McClure.
Yep, exactly. I mean, that's right. That's right where my thoughts are.
Mm-hmm. You had a dark horse,
I have
right?
a dark horse.
You have a dark horse.
Go ahead. Wait, the kid from Shadow Hills.
Hunter Brooks, man.
Hunter Brooks. There
Yeah.
we go. I forgot his last name. I was going to say Hunter. Hunter Brooks. Yes, dark horse. Why is he a dark horse? Why is he not on my list? He didn't play last year, so I can't really go off of stats from 2 years ago. I can only go off of stats from this year, last year, whatever.
5 games, 330 yards. He got hurt, right? So
exactly. So I think he's going to be the dark horse. He's going to be the one this year for the DEL who's going to make or break people's seasons.
Right.
I mean, you catch him on on your bad day, it's gonna be a bad time for you. You know?
No, yeah, absolutely. I really do. And especially since they're going to have guys. I mean, they got a new running back coming in this year. They got a new wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver that they're going to have to groom. So it's not going to be easy sleddings for Shadow Hills offensively. But when you got a guy that's Hunter Brooks, I think, to be honest, after talking with him and following him on social media and seeing all the camps that he goes to, he's got to be honestly one of the most hungry football players.
He wants it.
He's one of the most hungry football players in the valley right now.
Exactly.
He wants to compete. He wants to win. He wants to show you how great he is. He wants to do all of these things, and that's half the battle to me.
Yeah, and I think for him it's going to be a huge year because he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder that he has to prove to everybody else why I'm so much better than Brad. Why am I so much better than Donnie? Why am I so much better than the kid from LQ?
Yep.
And that's going to be huge for him because every game is his Super Bowl, I think, for his mentality.
Right.
He's trying to get that Scully too, just like everybody else. And the sad thing is he has 1 year to do it.
Right.
So it's bad for everybody else because that kid, like I just said, every game is a Super Bowl.
Right.
Every game he's going to go all out. Every game he's going to leave it on the field because that's his film that he needs to, secure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you say all that to say, for Hunter, don't try to do too much, man. Just play within the game. Don't try to throw into triple, double coverage because you think you need a big play here. Play within the game. Win games. The stats will follow. They always do. If you're successful and the team is successful, you'll find success off the field as well, man.
Exactly.
One of the things I also, from the quarterback spot, I wanted to go over as well is we're going to have, in my opinion, at least I would have a quarterback controversy or a competition going on with the team up north there, Palm Springs, man, the team in the north.
Team up north.
Dude, the team in the north, man. Palm Springs. I think they have a legit competition on their hands in terms of what guy they want to go with. And last year they had a guy, Isaiah Goad, who started 8 games, played in 8 games, was hurt for a few. 600. I'm just going to go over his stats real quick. 676 yards and averaged 84.5 a game with a 46% completion percentage, right? So that was the guy that they started off with. Then they had a freshman come in later on down the road there after Isaiah did get hurt in some games, and he finished off with 5, rattling off 5 games. This is in 5 games. He had 629 yards, averaged 125.8 yards a game, and was north of 58% completion percentage, right? So those guys are pretty similar
right there. I mean, Isaiah being a kid that is he was the starting point guard on the basketball team, won a CIF championship as a basketball player this year, so has the leadership qualities that you want, probably is a great locker room guy, and everybody rallies around him and loves being around him. But to me, Christian Kretz, man, looks like a kid that is the real deal in terms of he's the future of that Palm Springs program at the quarterback spot. So it really all depends on, do you want the safe guy or do you want the guy that has the highest ceiling? To me,
Are they what are the classes?
Christian is going to be a sophomore and Isaiah is going to be a junior.
Oh yeah, so that's a huge decision for the coach to make. I mean, do you go with the sophomore who you can go 3 years invested in, or do you go with that what'd you say, junior or senior?
Junior.
Yeah, do you go with that junior who's going to get 2 years? That's a big thing. I mean, it's not only big for the coach, but it's big for the kid too. Hey, son, you got to sit them down. You got to let them know, what do you see yourself doing in college? Do you see yourself playing basketball, or do you see yourself playing football? That's the big question you got to ask the kid.
Right.
Because that'll help you as a coach, like, huge. I see myself playing basketball. I want to go to basketball school.
Okay, bet. So we're going to move you to wide receiver and let you be athletic and go be a basketball player, but we need a quarterback back there.
Yeah. So that, I think that would be the biggest thing, is you got to ask the kid what he wants.
Right.
Because then if you're a coach and you just put him, okay, he's the safe person to
Right.
go with, now you kind of rob this other kid, the sophomore. You rob the sophomore of a year of experience.
Especially if he's ready to play in a not to throw shade, but Palm Springs has done that in the past where they'll just go with the older guy just because he's the older guy or dad's on staff or whatever. Oops, didn't mean to say that. But no, but seriously, like when you don't prove to your team that the best player is going to play, that says dividends to the entire squad, and you can lose the locker room really quick, because especially in a quarterback competition, no matter how you slice it, how you flip it, or how you want to turn it, there is going to be some dissension, and there is going to be a split in the locker room of who they want to play. Now, obviously, if a guy like Isaiah has a bunch of friends that want him to play, they're going to want to play. But deep down inside, the football players are going to want the best player to play, regardless of whether they're his friend or not.
Yeah, and if it's funny you bring that up, the whole like split locker room and stuff like that, because I'm watching Dream U the last season.
Yeah.
Shout out Kiyoshi Harris.
Yep.
What's up, bro? They lost that locker room because he brought in quarterbacks, and because he decided on one. JB, not Harris.
Yeah.
JB brought in one. And then he brings in Malik, like, spoiler alert, sorry.
Yeah, he brings
in
one
Malik
back.
Henry,
Yeah, right.
and that just throws the whole flow off.
Right.
And it just, you could see it with the wide receivers, and everybody was like, that's not my quarterback.
Right.
Jay's my quarterback.
Right.
He's not my quarterback. And it was like, ooh, watching it, it's like, ooh, dude, I've seen that, like, firsthand a little bit, where if you lose that locker room, dude, you lose games. And what happened? They lost, like, every freaking game. They went eight losses in a row.
Well, it's like that. It's like an ex-girlfriend almost, right? So like he brings Malik back, and he's had all of these he had this great season last year with him, and they did all of these great things, and he was such a good player for them. And then things started to fall sideways, and he wasn't brought back, and then now you bring him back, but just strictly to be the scout team guy, and he not looking to play because I got this other guy that's really good, and he's going to play. But then you start thinking about, when things start going south, and then you're like, man, we had some good times together, me and her. Like, man, I do miss those days. Like, man, it was fun to just be able to just, like, be myself around her and not have to worry about impressing myself with someone new. Let me just hit her up and see how she feels, and then all bets are off, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like a matter of, it's almost a matter of time when you do something like that. And if you flip-flop, it's over. Like,
yeah, that's a tough decision.
No,
that's a tough decision.
It's a wrap on the season. When you go with a guy, then sit him to go with another guy, then you sit that guy and try to bring the other one back. It's one of the most difficult things to do, to have that kind of, not only to have the success and the chemistry of your offense, but also with the locker room, man. Like, because behind closed doors, you may have guys talk about, oh, yeah, no, I want so-and-so and so-and-so, but then he's going to be by himself with a couple of other guys and be like, man, like I need the other guy to go because this guy isn't getting it done, or you know what I mean? It happens all the time.
That's tough. That's tough to make. That's a tough decision to make as a coach. Just
because, like, ultimately, quarterback, there's only one gets to play.
Only one does.
Only one gets to play. You may be, and this is what I love about teams that run the 2-quarterback system. Oh, I got 2 quarterbacks. Well, number one, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. That's first and foremost. And number 2, okay, you have 2 quarterbacks, right? Okay, so tell me this. 4th quarter, down 4 with a minute left, and you're on the 25-yard line. Who's going in? Because you got to choose one, right? You choose one in that ultimate decision. And if whatever one you choose, to me, that's my guy. Yeah. Like, that's my guy, because when the nuts are down, that's the guy that I'm going to go with, right? I can't just, all right, well, Billy, you're going to go in to start the drive, and then, oh, hurry up. Oh, no, I need you, go, and then how are they supposed to get a rhythm? And you're supposed to do, no. At the end of the day, you're ultimately going to have to pick one when it comes down to it. So you might as well make it an easy one early rather than making it difficult late.
I think for me, Palm Springs, definitely you're going to have to sit the basketball player down and ask him, look, do you want to play basketball in college or what? And if he doesn't make that decision easy for you, then now you got to go to camp.
Right.
And you just got to see, and you got to trust, I guess, your own instincts, which is hard to do as a coach, because then when you start failing, or if, stuff doesn't go the way you see it going, it just takes a toll on your mentality, and you just start second-guessing everything that you do. Right. But I think they're going to have a tough road right there.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to it, I would say about 80% of the time, the competition plays itself out.
Yep.
Like, eventually one guy is going to rise above the other, and he's going to prove that he's the better of the two, right? But there may be some times where both of them are lighting it up, and now you don't know what to do. I know a situation like that in 2008 at Palm Springs where there was a senior that was starting the games, and it was split between a senior and a junior in the preseason, and the senior started to struggle a little bit, and then the junior was lighting it up, quote unquote, and he was scoring on every single one of his drives, and he was finishing the drives offensively. And then all of a sudden, the juniors' reps started to deteriorate, and they started to go down, and the senior started to get more reps, even though the other guy was doing better. And then now the other guy has to go play safety, and now you have to try to put him somewhere else because you don't want to burn the bridge of your senior. But then ultimately, at the end of the day, in the second round, the quarterback that you go to throws a pick in triple coverage to lose the game for you. What way would your season have gone had you gone the other way? You know what I mean? There's so many different factors going into picking your quarterback, not just for game one, but for your entire season as a whole.
How did that change you, though, going through that? How did that change you, being, hey, I'm not getting the reps. I know I'm the better guy, but they're going with someone else.
From a player standpoint, it was one of the most difficult things to be able to just, you're standing there watching the other guy, and he, like, I always played like armchair quarterback. I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have done this. So when I would get my chances, I would score on all of them. Like first round of the playoffs, we're down 2 scores to a young Summit High School football team. Down 2 scores. Ball's on the 30-something yard line. I had one offensive snap at quarterback that game. 1 snap, 1 pass, 1 completion for 33 yards and a touchdown. Okay? So you tell me, like, when are you making your reps count, or are you counting your reps, right? And ultimately, it helped me be better the following year because I played with such a massive chip on my shoulder that there was no way nobody else was ever going to try to get near me in terms of who the better quarterback was.
Exactly. Now, looking back at it, we preach a lot about patience. Did you have patience back then?
Had to. I was still a young guy in terms of for patience for me was just keeping my mouth shut. And I had a lot of my friends just, or like a lot of guys that I know that would just be, man, this is what I need to let me go, coach. Like, come on, like I need to play. Like, what are you doing? Like, let's go. Like, I'm ready. Like, and always being in the coach's ear.
Yeah.
Coach don't want to hear that stuff.
That's true.
He wants a guy that he knows that may be ready to go, but is doing what's best for the team, right? So there would be a lot of times where Coach Fabe would come up to me and be like, just be ready to go. Like, if and when one more series, if he's not doing well, you're going to go. And then it would just so happen he would score on that drive. Oh, well, I can't go with him. I can't change anymore. Oh, okay, but end of the game, we lose because he threw a pick. It's not the point, but...
Do you think you went through that for a reason?
Had to have. Because now, even now as a coach, like, I'm always now going to err on the side of the best player is going to play. I don't care if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, green, blue. The best player, in my opinion, needs to play, because it is not fair, because somebody else has other things that are out of the control of a football standpoint. From a football standpoint, if you're making somebody else start because of other outside entities, well, then what are we doing? We're not even talking X's and O's anymore. We're not even talking football. We're talking about politics. And that's not what football is all about. Even though sometimes in the Valley in general here too, politics play a huge role in a lot of things. So take it with a grain of salt. Maybe I'm just some young kid that doesn't know much, but the best player on my team is going to play.
Awesome. All right, so to recap, obviously our number one's going to be Donnie Fitzgerald.
Yeah, so the asterisk is Donnie Fitzgerald, because, you know, he won't be able to play this year, but he would be our number one guy if he was playing.
So my number two was Braden Brimhall.
Yep.
Your number two
would be
really number one.
Number one would be Brad McClure. Yep.
And I had Brad McClure on my list too.
Yep.
And the dark horse this year that I think is going to make or break a lot of people's seasons is definitely going to be Hunter Brooks.
Yep. And for me, I have Christian Edson from La Quinta as well.
That's going to be tough, man. We got two dark horses out there that can make or break people's seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a six-team league.
Absolutely. It's gonna be unbelievable to watch, like, all of these teams compete, and it's gonna be a knockout, drag-out type of style, SEC style with these DEL teams. A lot of these teams are gonna want to run the football, but, you know, I could see Shadow Hills throwing a lot more than they used to. I could see Xavier Prep throwing a lot more than they used to. I could see La Quinta doing things they've never done before, because it's a new kind of staff there, right? Second year, they got to still set their identity, right? So I could see Palm Springs doing some things differently. You never know what you're going to get. Rancho Mirage has to do things differently. They don't have David Talley anymore, right? So it's a lot of changes this year, and the teams with the experience really need to take and use that to their advantage.
Exactly. And I to recap on all of our things, I think we look at the receiving core. I think the best receiving core that we're going to see this year, number one, number two, is going to be definitely Coachella Valley High School and Xavier. Those two are going to be the best receiving cores.
And Xavier Prep has got a couple of guys that I didn't even mention that are going to be impact players for that offense as well as defensively. Especially for some of the smaller schools, you got to have guys that play both ways, and you got to have guys that rotate a lot. And for those skill guys to be able to do that and be able to not miss a beat is huge.
And I really love the fact that, you know, it's just coming from the run and shoot side of things. You're going to see way more offensive production, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's just how it is, you know, the run and shoot. Why is Donnie number one and why is Brad number two?
Right.
Because they both are high producing numbers, dude. That's ridiculous. 4,200 yards and, you know, 1,900 yards.
Right, and then and it's so funny because, like, people always talk about, well, you know, the run and shoot, they throw the ball 50, 60 times a game. No, they don't. No, they don't. Like, a perfect example here, like, I'm just looking at Brad's stats from last year compared to the next guy in terms of attempts. He had, both of them had 12 games. He had 286 attempts. The next guy had 221. That's not that much far off. Yes, okay, so Xavier throws the ball a little bit more than Palm Desert. But Palm Desert also had a guy rush for 2,000 yards last year. So what would you rather have? The guy that's rushing for 2,000 yards or put it in someone else's hands in the air? Like, it's all about your personnel and where you're going. And I'm going to check out Donnie's here too, just because I want to see, like, I want to be able to see is it really that far off? Is he really throwing that much more than everyone else? Maybe I'm just going to have a foot in my mouth real quick. Who knows? Let me see.
Some of our fans might be hoping for that one.
Yeah, right? Shout out all of them.
You know what? And there's some schools that we didn't get to, and it's only because I'm not well versed in our private schools that are out here. In our Desert Christian or what is it? Desert Christian, Desert Chapel.
Desert Chapel. Yeah,
Christian School of Desert, whatever that one is. I forget what that one is. Sorry. Palm Valley. But you know what? We're going to get to those people because those people want us to go out there. Those people want us to cover their games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to do that. And you know what? Like I said, there's talent in this valley. We didn't even get to 8-man football. You know, we haven't even like scratched the surface on that. And there's some studs that come out of there.
Right.
I mean, one guy that I know that came out of there never played 11-man in his life was Brent Roush. At my first year at COD doing film.
Yep.
That was the guy. That was the first highlight that I made. He ends up going to Hawaii.
Yep.
Never played 11-man before, but that was the diamond in the rough that played 8-man. Then he played at COD, lit it up, went to Hawaii. Boom.
Yep.
You know, that's huge.
No, yeah, no, and I totally agree with that. Just looking at these.
Let's look at Donnie. Let's see.
So the attempts. So Donnie attempted 375 passes. Brad was 286. So yeah, almost 100 attempts more. But
that only averages out to like 30 a game, 37 a game.
Right, exactly. And so when your best player is your quarterback, what would you rather have him do? Hand the ball off or have the ball in his hands? I'd rather have the best player have the ball in his hands making plays. That's just me. That's just me. I'm new school. I don't know. I'm just a young guy. I don't know.
That's
and then with Braden being the second in the Desert Valley there with 262. So it's not that much. Like it's not throwing that much more, right? It's not throwing that much more.
Exactly.
But it's going to be exciting to see both of our lists here, our ultimate teams, and be able to watch these guys and see how they play, react. Maybe we can get a few during camp to speak
definitely.
to.
This is just step one. I mean, the list was step one. Congratulations to everyone that made it. We're going to be going out to your schools. If not Mike, I will.
Yep.
Because I know some people might feel weird about the conflict of interest, whatever the heck. But, you know, I will definitely get interviews with these guys, definitely get interviews with coaches. We're going to start posting their highlights. We're going to start posting some cool stuff, man.
Yeah, because
I keep looking at the Twitter, keep looking at the Insta.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a reminder to everyone, man. Like, we want to, regardless of what school they're at, we want to promote all of these players, right? So, yes, okay, so I may have an affiliation with Xavier Prep being the offensive coordinator, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to come to your school and I want to write down what defense you guys run. I could care less, man. I watch film. I've played football my entire life. I know what I'm looking at, right? I'm not going to sneak around and try to get some exclusive stuff on your camp practices, my guy. No, dude, like, we just want to interview your players and tell everyone in the world how great they are. So if people can get past that, that would be awesome because we want to promote the players. That's what Clahs is all about. That's why we're back in session, man. We went through summer. We had a great summer vacation, but it's time to get back to work, and it's time to promote these players to the best of our abilities.
Exactly, and we have great ideas coming up all the time that we always bounce off. I mean, today was kind of a great. It was, I want to say, a kind of a great idea because we did it outside, which probably wasn't the best.
Yeah, I know. I'm sweating.
You can't see us, but we're just like dripping like crazy right now.
Right.
But you know, we did it. This is our struggle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, if there's anything, if there's anyone, student, coach, parent, player, anyone that wants to be promoted, that wants to be on the show, that wants us to get their name out there, please do not hesitate to contact us because there's nothing better than being able, as a recruiter, to pull up some extra information that they would not normally get and be able to see the upside to these players. Now, it is not good to be able to look up these players and you see something on the negative side, and that's why we're just so kind of...
that left a bad taste in my mouth because you and I discussed it, and I said, Mike, I'm not in the business of tearing down someone's stock. I'm not in the business of putting up, like, once we eventually start getting our interns to start working and, you know, and putting up articles, I'm not going to go negative. That's not the point of this. It's not what we decided in January when we first did this. I said I'm not in the business of destroying kids. I'm not in the business of, you know,
and we're
reporting on injuries. I don't want to do that because in social media today, dude, you look up Donnie Fitzgerald, what's the first thing that pops up?
Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna be his accolades. It's gonna be his freaking injury.
No, yeah,
And,
100%.
You know, as a recruiter, yeah, that's something that the kid needs to share with the recruiter. Doesn't need to share with the world.
Right, and that's the other thing too. We're not here to like try to break news or be
No.
the first ones to report on stuff. Because I mean, if that was the case, we would have blown this up a month and a half ago when it happened, right?
Yeah.
So allow us to help and not hurt anyone's stock here, and we always want to continue to grow and continue to put these guys in the best positions to not only get recruited but to be successful student athletes, man.
Yeah.
Whatever their journey is. Not everyone wants to be a D1 athlete. Not everyone gets to be a D1 athlete, but that doesn't mean not everyone gets to go to college, and that doesn't mean not everyone gets to be a college athlete if they have the opportunities to do so.
Exactly. You know, we're tight with most of the athletic directors out here. We know most of the coaches out here from experience of either playing with them or working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest message would be to parents. Parents, just trust in what we're doing, and we will. If your kid does what it takes, if your kid gets NCAA clearinghouse done,
Mm-hmm.
if your kid gets grades, if your kid gets good ACTs, if your kid gets good ACTs, SATs, all that stuff, AP, all that stuff, we will do what we have to do to get that kid to the next level.
Yeah.
You can trust in us. We're just another arm. We're just another, think of us as another hub for you to put your kids' highlights on or to promote your kid. That's all we're in the business of. I'm not going to be in the business of, well, hey, did you hear so-and-so had a really bad game? That sucks for him. No,
Right.
It's going to be, hey, like we just talked about Brad's stats. He might have had the lowest stats, but he still won that game. And you talk about what happened in that game.
Right.
You can't dwell on, well, that kid, he's crappy now. No, you can't do that. We'll never do that.
Right. No, yeah, and it's not a perfect science, not everybody's going to be able to get it right, and people will slip through the cracks, but it's our jobs here to make sure that we fill those cracks that those guys might fall through, and then that other schools are able to look at them and be able to recruit them and see how much talent is here in the Valley, because I think people just get so caught up in the allure of the Division I that they don't understand that you can get your education paid for and you can go to pretty good schools and not be at the University of so-and-so state. You know what I mean? You can go to a smaller school and still be able to get your degree. And, hey, my degree from Midland University may be different in terms of what major I'm in, but that piece of paper says I graduated college, just like Scott's piece of paper told him he graduated from Penn State, right? So it's
exactly
it's all about the journey. Everybody's on a different one, and your journey may start later on than someone else's, right?
Exactly.
A perfect example is freaking J.J. Watt, man, being recruited as a 2-star or a 3-star tight end, and then walking on to Wisconsin because he knows he's better than that. But he was a late bloomer. Right? That happens. You don't bloom until you get to college. You're not mature until you get to college. You don't fit into your body until you get to college. That stuff happens, man. So just be patient, stand on the truth, trust the process, and use all of the accessories and all of the things that you have to choose from to allow the recruiters and allow your highlights and you to get spotted from those different avenues, man. That's the key. And if you're looking for some other extra tips and hints and tricks, don't be afraid to go back to our previous episodes of Clahs where we have tons of that information already spelled out for you from the last spring season there, where we went through what it's like to be recruited, all the things that you need to have in order to be recruited, all of the things that you need to get done for Division I schools to even offer you. So go on, check out us on Facebook, YouTube, follow us on Instagram,
Twitter. Twitter's the biggest one right now.
Twitter, we have all of the news that we have going on. That's going to be the one that pops up the most, and just be able to just invest your time in. If you're a student athlete looking to move on to the next level, do your research and invest in yourself right now, so then that way you're not scrambling later.
Yeah, and if there's anyone on the fence, like to what I said earlier, we're not in the business of crapping on kids. Look at our interviews that we did this year. We could have crapped on so many kids after a loss, but no, our whole goal isn't to just oh yeah, guess what, you lost, you guys are horrible.
Right.
No, it was to build you up and to get you ready for that next level so a coach can see you. How does this kid react after a win?
Right.
How does this kid react after a loss?
Right.
That was our biggest goal, and I think we did that this year. And I look forward to football because football is going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, no, 100%. And man, football season, there's nothing better than you get that itch, you smell that grass, you hear the helmets popping, you see the paint flying, you got water being squirted everywhere. Dude, football season is the best, man, and that's why everybody's itching for it, and that's why this could be one of the best, and this could be potentially, we at one point or another could possibly have 3 or 4 teams vying for CIF championships this year, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we're not just here for sports either. I mean, he's going to be, if we're allowed to, I guess, if interviewing people during training camp, I'm going to be over there at that band camp, man. Band camp's going on at the same time, and that's hard.
100%.
I've been in that situation where you have to be there at 6 a.m. and you're done at 8, and it's blistering 100 degrees out there. It's fun times, dude.
Shout out Palm Springs, Spirit of the Sands, baby, the best band in the valley.
Here. The Black Hawk Brigade.
No, well, it's okay.
Brigade,
Spirit of the Sands just gets to perform at the presidential inauguration and gets to go to the Olympics and perform at the opening ceremonies. No big deal. But go ahead.
I didn't know you knew so much about
it. Yeah, go ahead and talk about the Black Hawk Brigade, though. I'd love to hear about it.
And Blue Devils. We had at one time, now you're not going to know this, but at one time, our whole tenor section was they went to the Blue Devils, which is like Major League.
Sure.
Think the Yankees.
Okay.
Our whole tenor section on drums was all looking to Black Hawk.
Oh, wow.
For them.
That's impressive.
For Major Leagues. That'd be like having your whole infield like one school.
That's freaking
huge.
awesome, man.
That's
yeah,
huge.
Absolutely. That's big time stuff. Yeah. Hey, so if you got some band stuff, we also are going to be getting into that heated volleyball talk, man. I know there's a bunch of teams out there that have some really good athletes over there and that are going to be looking for some championships and maybe a changing of the guard, possibly in the league championship realm.
One last announcement before we sign off, or
Sure.
whatever you got next. We're still looking for interns. We want 1 intern per school. So if anybody has that interest of reporting on your school and helping us out and being a part of this, we got a lot of benefits for you. There's a lot of cool stuff that you're going to be doing. And that's about it. I mean, it's a great gig, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're someone that is, because this isn't something in terms of like doing something like this isn't something that just pops up regularly at schools as an internship or something that you can do or something that it's very difficult to be able to start at your school. So we're always looking for people that want to get into sports, but in a different way, right? So if you're not one that plays very often, or you're not one that you think that you're good enough to play at the next level, but you love sports, you want to talk about it, you want to cover it, Clahs and Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority are the ones to be able to help you down that road, and we can give great letters of recommendation for college. We can give you the experience, and we can actually teach you things that those schools already do that would be impressed to know that you know.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is the experience level. I mean, let's just throw it out there. There's 120 Div 1 schools.
127 play college football.
Every single one of those has a sports program. Mm-hmm. Now, every single one of those has kids that just show up and they're like, hey, I'm here for student aid. That's what I was. I was a student aid kid who this is my job now. No, I want to get you to that level where you can go in and you can actually, not even have to sit down for the interview because they're going to see everything that you have already. They're going to see your 2 years experience is already in the can.
Right.
Here's my highlights that I've made. Here's the articles that I've written. Here's the photos that I've taken.
Right. Here's the interview I've done.
Interviews I've done. That's going to be huge because not everybody gets on camera time.
100%. And for the ones that are interested but have no idea of going about it, or don't know what to do, or don't even know how to start, email us. Email Scott. Just tell us that you're interested, and that would be the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
And then we can get the ball rolling from there for sure.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what a show that we had today. What a way to kick back off class with a super extra long
3
episode.
hours.
Incredible time being on the mic. being able to talk shop, being able to talk high school football here in the Valley yet again. It's right around the corner, and I'm super excited to be able to have – this is our first time with Clahs during the football year, right? So, boom, this is going to be one of the best ones. And don't be surprised if you see us at a game covering it, maybe possibly doing play-by-play. You never know.
Probably won't be Mike.
Maybe not,
It'll be
but
someone
maybe.
else. It'll
You
be
never
someone else.
know. Xavier Prep does have some bye weeks and Saturday games, so you never know, right?
Exactly.
For Scott, for everyone over at Coachella Sports and Entertainment Stadium Authority, I am Michael Carls, and class is dismissed.
The Classic Club,
That was
home
a
of
way
the
to
nationally recognized championship course designed by Arnold Palmer, creates a new spin on desert golf with rolling terrain, wide landing areas, and beautiful surprises around every corner. Bellatrix Restaurant and Bar at the Classic Club is the destination for good times and excellent food with Mediterranean, Asian, and French accents. We also feature traditional steaks, seafood, and an extensive wine list. All of this together is what makes the Classic Club the preferred destination for Valley residents and visitors. Come see for yourself. The Classic Club, home of the nationally recognized championship course designed by Arnold Palmer, creates a new spin on desert golf with rolling terrain, wide landing areas, and beautiful surprises around every corner. Bellatrix Restaurant and Bar at the Classic Club is the destination for good times and excellent food with Mediterranean, Asian, and French accents. We also feature traditional steaks, seafood, and an extensive wine list. All of this together is what makes the Classic Club the preferred destination for Valley residents and visitors. Come see for yourself. The Classic Club, home of the nationally recognized championship course designed by Arnold Palmer, creates a new spin on desert golf with rolling terrain, wide landing areas, and beautiful surprises around every corner. Bellatrix Restaurant and Bar at the Classic Club is the destination for good times and excellent food with Mediterranean, Asian, and French accents. We also feature traditional steaks, seafood, and an extensive wine list. All of this together is what makes the Classic Club the preferred destination for Valley residents and visitors. Come see for yourself. The Classic